come. We must never stop the way, yeah. Birds jumping and I hear my name, grasping into a life. Life is happy but it's so insane. We must merely make a start. Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah, we'll never be alone. Savannah, the beauty of the world. Savannah, let's all take a roll. Savannah, light is gonna come. The birds have just begun. We will always take a stand for the people, for the land. Let's go back to when we were young. For the animals we stand. Let's go back to when trees were swung, kids across the land. Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah, we'll never be alone. Savannah, the beauty of the world. Savannah, let's all take a roll. Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah, we'll never be alone. Savannah, the beauty of the world. Savannah, let's all take a roll. Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah, we'll never be alone. Savannah.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Masters. It is day 4 and we approach the world number 1 against the world number 7. Junhui against Judd, the Leaping Dragon against the ace in the pack. And well, someone in the chat mentioned, do we have a chance for round 4-7? Well, I bet you do, because you're not going to have a better lineup than that. You've got Judd, the player that has been, well, pretty much on top of the game when it comes to brain building skills and just the pure power that he manages to produce. And if you talk about the man of the maximums, Junhui, former winner here, of course, still looking to complete that triple crown set and land that crucible crown. Well, certainly going to be a lot of entertainment. And finally, maybe we are going to see a breakthrough. That curse of 6-2 of a scoreline being every single time of the first round matches. And before then, of course, we'll have Chris Wakelin and Neil Robertson. Wakelin already seen 3 maximums being made this season. 1 was for him, and 2 of the others were made against him in Saudi Masters. The tournament, of course, which has seen Neil Robertson to be victorious. His last trophy up to date, especially when it comes to the ranking events. Neil, of course, former winner here, of course, as well in 2022. Didn't manage to do that in 2011. And Judd has done it on multiple occasions in 2023 and more in the previous decades as well. Wakelin still looking for that triple crown win. Of course, this is going to be a nice leap for him and trying to approach that. And it is going to be very interesting to see the outcome. We're not going to see Shaun Murphy or Ronnie O'Sullivan as the winner, which of course puts it down to the last winner in 2023, which would have been Judd. So that's going to be very interesting indeed. It is the winner play. So the winner will play Mark Allen tomorrow. So that's going to be very, well, certainly looking forward to that one. Mark Allen managed to defeat Mark Williams, winning 5 frames on the bounce. And right now, it is going to be another English against China derby. We've seen 4 of those in the Masters already. Mark Zhao against Xiao Guodong. Kyle Wilson against Si Jiaowei. Guy Wilson against Zhao Xington. And then Weezer against Shaun Murphy. On 3 of those occasions, people from China managed to win. And only Kyle Wilson managed to defeat Si Jiaowei yesterday to break that English curse. Because until Kyle managed to do that, there was no player from England being in the quarterfinals. And of course, there wasn't one to add in the evening session. Barry Hawkins losing out to the Wizard of Wishaw. The class of 92 is still going to remain in the face of John Higgins at the quarterfinal stage being represented, as now Trumps walks his way onto the arena and we're about to get underway. Probably the best match that you could expect in the first round. You know, the world number 8 landing against the world number 1. Trump still looking for that ranking event win ever since the triumph in the Triple Crown more than 12 months ago at the UK Championship last season. Who does Kyle Wilson play? He will play either Chris Wakelin or Neil Robertson. So that could be the best lineup that we possibly could imagine. The world number 2 against the world number 3 in the quarterfinal stage. So we've got some interesting matchups. Amazing all matches ended in 6-2. Yeah, I mean, controversial. Slightly more than just amazing than that. Because, you've got 6 very different matchups, the way that they've gone. And some of them have actually been 3 wins in a bounce. Some of them have seen 5, like Mark Allen. And some of the few surprises as well, as we kick the match off. And it is going to be Junhui to get us underway. With a nice break-off, to be fair, in terms of the cue ball control. Not so much with the Reds. And he's going to have to be careful. Not leave anything easy away to Trump. And it's back to Judd right now. So Dink still could have done slightly better in terms of the way that he sent one of those Reds to the top part of the table. And could have left it to the left middle, but in the end has got the cover off the brown. So that shouldn't be an issue for him at this stage. But yeah, the whole 6-2 thing was, well, it looked like it was going to end yesterday with Wilson against Si Jiahui. He might have actually ended before that with Gary Wilson against Zhao Xington. Wilson being so close to take that to 4-3 of a deficit after Zhao Xington missing the paint. But in the end, the world champion managed to recover and win 2 frames on the bounce. Similar thing that Karen Wilson has done against Si Jiahui himself. Si Jiahui managed to get that gap to 3-2 down, and then Wilson just found another gear and run away with it, winning 3 frames on the bounce, probably in as little time as he has taken for Si Jiahui to win that 5th frame. And when you talk about John Higgins against Barry Hawkins, that was a fun match to watch, but wow, I mean, have a look at this one. John played an ordinary safety before, and Ding Junhui has found a way to get one of those Reds in. And, well, he certainly has taken a big gamble there to go for this red, because he was leaving the red to the left middle there for Chomp. But he's able to land himself a first chance. Has to take a difficult green, though, into the left middle. Yeah, might have to play this one with power to make sure that he gets the bounce on the cue ball. And just doesn't want it to be hampered by the green. I think he might have to take that. That's how the balls roll. 6-2. Yeah, listen, Kevin, it's... it is very weird, but, all the matches have been played in great spirit and certainly not controversial losses in any of those. Just a couple of surprising ones, especially when it comes to the first 2. Salgadon and Wuiza defeating the likes of Mark Selby and Sean Murphy, which, could have been seen as a real threat for the title. And boring but real, I am still going to go for Chom to be my favourite for this title to be won. A couple of players that I actually didn't expect to make past the first round were Weezer and Zhao Xington there. Thought Gary Wilson might just get the better of the world champion, but in the end wasn't the case. Xington got his way into the quarterfinal. And of course, another player worth mentioning is going to have to be Chris Whaley, coming into this battle with Neil Robertson as the man in form, being the champion of the Scottish Open and landing a maximum at the Championship League recently. Didn't quite manage to be victorious in the playoffs though, so had to settle for a couple of runner-up spots. Not so much as Tom Ford, Joe O'Connor and Seizure we have actually managed. And now just waiting to see Ding Junhui himself having looked to, well, I mean, he's going for this red into the left corner obviously right now, but I think his concentration is going to have to be trying to focus on freeing up the black there, because he can still try and make his way through the pink and the blue, but with all those reds concentrating slightly below the pink, I think he's going to have to try and bring the back into play, because the way that we've seen those matches unfold so far, all your efforts to try and build your break alongside the blue and the pink, they never seem to go to plan. We've seen it with Wilson and Si Jiahui yesterday. We've seen that with Barry Hawkins against John Higgins. Just wasn't able to get his cue action to the perfect control. And well, that's not going to please Ding Junhui either, because the referee of the match, Tiana Wollaston there, just getting the ping to go underneath their main bunch of reds. Does the black pot, you think? I think it does, into the right corner, but I mean, I say I think it does, purely from this angle, but I have to feel like if it was possible into the right corner, Ding Junhui would have been the first player in the tour try to get himself, because you can have the cue ball to be sent into that red, try and get it close to the left corner. So probably, if it was an opportunity, Ding would have already taken it. For now, it's a break of 16 points. Didn't quite land on the blue as like as he would have wanted. So has to go for the yellow. Bit of backspin. Once again, lovely little cue action. And he's going to have another chance there. Try and maybe disturb that black and red combination, but ideally would have liked to be on the other part of the table for that to be the case, because if he pushes the black onto the red, it might just leave the second red covering the left corner pocket, which of course would have been the ideal destination for the black to be sent. Where can they watch the game? So it depends if, well, which region you're watching from, but I always just do it on the base ones, on the WSD Play. On the WSTV, as you might call it either. And of course in the UK you can also do that on the TNT Sports, with the coverage being from London at the Alexandra Palace. Once again, the pure raw, when you watch the Hawkins match against Higgins yesterday, you can just, the feeling watching those matches with the audio, especially with such great crowd in the background, I mean, it is going to be very enjoyable indeed, as it will be for the players. 25 points here, and yeah, I mean, would absolutely fancy Trump to take this one away, because I think you have to say, with the previous 6 matches ending with 6-2, I think that has to be the scoreline for you to go for. Big crowds, yeah, massive, but also the atmosphere that they do. I mean, you feel like it's almost a football stadium where you've got the capacity of sort of like 50, 60,000, and then you realise, well, sometimes that's what passion and an arena like the Alexandra Palace can bring into you. Because it's one thing, you know, when you praise the crowd in Belfast, the Northern Ireland, probably by far the loudest and the most enjoyable for the players. And then you come to a place like this and you say, well, that's a whole new level. Now then, very important part of the frame coming up here, especially for Ding's point of view, because he's 31 points ahead. It's on BBC Two as well. Okay, I bet it was, because it's, as I say, it's very much one of those Triple Crown events, which you would expect to be on either ITV or BBC. And, well, I mean, yeah, just double speaking there, it was a very important shot there for Ding, because he didn't really have the feeling if he was going to try and play the cue ball along the side cushion, get it landed on the red, to try and take it into the right corner. Instead, he tried to make it into the bunch. It didn't really work out for him. And when I say didn't really, he's got absolutely nothing to try and go for. I mean, Ding is probably one of the players alongside Watchalong that, you know, if there is a 10% shot that he can try and take with a very difficult cut, he seems to go for it. And now, I mean, he's looking at the 3-ball plans incredibly. I mean, that's not going to be in the 10% shot, that is going to be in the 3% shot. I mean, surely he's not going for this one. I mean, if he makes it, this is going to be the shot of the tournament, but you can see that he's smiling about it, but it probably wasn't the worst outcome. He gets the cue ball in the pocket at the same time. So, well, I mean, that red into the right corner was very close there, but it's one of those shots that you never should have taken on there, Ding, and he knows it better than anyone. Now then, back to Chomp it goes. And just having a look to see if he's going to be able to go for the same red into the right corner pocket. So, 32 points advantage there, still 91 on the table. Yes, but not great coverage like this. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, they do have the footage, to be fair, so you can't compete with that one. And, you know, when you've got the voice of Stephen Hendry, Steve Davis, taking you through that, it is great analysis. And, of course, it's a very different style to it, because they've been there. They've done it before. Stephen Hendry has done it in the Masters Arena multiple times here. Not quite as many times as he's done it on the Crucible, though. So that's a whole new level of expertise and analysis that you can be talking about, but it's a bit different because they wouldn't have reading the chat and you know, bringing out the extra leg to play. Now then, if you've got Chomp here, so you're thinking about going for the red, which was missed by Ding Junhui previously, but that way you're never going to get the cue ball into the safe place. So Chomp is having a look at the opposite side of the table, trying to guide one of those reds into the left corner. Had to play this one perfectly, and he did. Well, that gap can evaporate very quickly if Chomp is able to knock the brown in as well. It's a brilliant long shot. Of course, recently has been one of the best players on the tour when it comes to long shots, especially as we've seen at York at the Barbican of the UK Championship. And Trump missed out on the Scottish Open for reasons that still remain to be unknown to me, because he wasn't even in the original draw, which has seen the likes of Neil Robertson and Mark Williams to be withdrawn, but of course Trump just wasn't registered in the first place. And now then has got a very important couple of shots on the pink to play. Made a record 107 centuries last season, beating Neil Robertson previous records of 103 in the 2013-2014 season. I mean, by the way, I just remember that on 2014, Robertson was absolutely, I mean, he was unbeatable there in some points. I can't understand how he didn't get too far in the sort of world championship, because Robertson in 2011, 2012, 2013, he was absolutely massive, man. He was something that you would feel like Judd would have been a couple of years ago when he was sort of in the league of his own, trying to fight with Ronnie O'Sullivan and Karen Wilson a couple of seasons ago. Whoever was able to win more titles in the same season. And business end of season brings in the top boys. Well, he does. He does, to be fair. We have seen so many different winners in this season so far. Can we see the first one back-to-back? Or is it going to be another player like Zhao Xington, which of course has been relatively quiet this season, reaching the semi-final of Junhui Masters and the International Championship. So very much a fan of China, as you would expect a man from China to be. Saying yesterday, not yesterday, the day before, that he's very thrilled and very excited to be playing ahead of such crowd. As Trump, well, has he made the mess of that? It looked like he was going from ordinary to another straightforward shot. In the end, I think he's overrun massively there on the cue ball. And just having a look to see if he's going to be able to go for a shot into the yellow pocket. Might be his only chance here. And, well, if Junhui has gone for the previous 3-ball planting to the right corner, make no mistake about it, Judd will try and do a similar sort of thing here. 15 points behind, 67 at the table. It's all to play for in the opening frame. And apart from, of course, Barry Hawkins and John Higgins, whoever's gone on to win the opening frame has been the winner of the entire match. And, well, the chances of Judd doing that has probably just been reduced in half because he's missed that red into the yellow pocket. The red has gone, well, away just about far enough there to make it not an easy shot for Ding Junhui. But you still would expect the Dragon to try and make the most out of this. He's got a couple of options to his name, and he's actually considering to go for a shot into the left corner. So a very thinker, having the red pretty much on the black ball spot, which makes it easier, of course, for the players for one of those reference points. And now he gets this one in, but loses cue ball completely. And he might put himself under a bit of pressure there if he decides to play a safety shot, which probably is going to take him over the edge in terms of taking the brown or green in an attacking way. Just not going to be a point in playing behind one of those colours because of the way of the table and the way the Reds is actually positioning themselves. Robertson's struggling, and World's often apart from when he wants. Yeah, I mean, the fact that Robertson is a single-time world champion, I mean, the fact that Judd is a single-time world champion is absolutely baffling when you bring the likes of Karen Wilson and Zhao Xington into the picture. They've won the same number of titles as Robertson and Chom have done. It was very much at a different stage of their career. And, well, you probably can't just about put Wilson into that aspect of the game because he's a lot younger than Robertson. Now, the green is going to be rolled into the left middle, and Ding Junhui still on the break here, 19 points ahead. So you will need pretty much all of those reds, you will feel, as he's still got 59 points at the table. And the red that he previously refused to be taking into the yellow pocket, and you can see why. The distance wasn't there between the cue ball, but he still doesn't manage to get the red in. So it looked like an ordinary shot there, but probably just leaving himself with slightly too much of an angle to try and make his way through. And Trump very quick off his seat, looking to get himself back onto the main picture and back to the action. One thing I will say, as he goes for a double, certainly something that I didn't expect to be seen here. And, well, I mean, you have to count the number of safety shots that we've seen in the opening frame. It's a brilliant double that he makes into the right middle. And of course, the problem with playing such double, you're always going to leave the cue ball somewhat far away there from the scene of the accident. And has he made the mess of that? I think he has. We've seen that with, I think it was Karen Wilson against Junhui. And now we've seen it with Judd trying to roll to the green. Slightly too close there and not touching it at all. I mean, he's going to have a free ball opportunity with just how attacking Junhui is. I wouldn't be surprised if he takes this free ball opportunity to himself. But as he has a quick look and a quick glance to it, just gives an indication that Judd might have to come back to the table straight away and try and find his way out of this position. Slightly compromised previously by the fact of having to play that shot with the cue ball being so close to the cushion. Now then, he's very quick to try and go for the shot. And, well, I mean, that's how you recover. He made the mess of the previous shot, but he certainly managed to redeem himself. And this occasion here, it's a really nice shot there by Trump. And he's back in a comfortable position to his seat. And still very much in with a chance here of taking the opening frame against Ding. We have seen a couple of very lengthy matches so far. And, well, certainly would expect one of the more high-scoring matches here, especially with Judd and Ding Junhui both featuring at the same time here on one table. Probably similar sort of thing can be said about the last first-round match, which we're going to see. Is going to be Chris Wakeland against Neil Robertson. Both players, very much established top 16 players of this season. Not going to say that Wakeland has been there for just the length that Robertson has. As Ding just having a look to see if the treble was on there into the right middle. In the end, that wasn't quite the case, so he decides to nudge that red closer to the blue ball spot and just leave the cue ball as close to the black ball cushion as it was possible. So again, remember, 22 points is the deficit for Chom to try and make his way through. And 51 still at the table as it stands. Now then, it's a nice shot there for Chomp. If the cue ball just keeps on rolling, and he will, it's a brilliant shot there by Chomp, because the previous shot, you just felt like it was a bit too passive there from Ding. And Chomp was very quick to respond, lining up the brown in between the cue ball and the two main reds. And of course, he's going to have the entire spine of the black and the pink in between the third red and the cue ball itself. I mean, he has to go for the red next to the black, surely, because the other two reds are about as much of an open play as he possibly can be. Now then, if you go for the left side cushion there with the cue ball, try and catch one of those reds on the bounce back, you should be able to get one of those reds, well, the red that you're going to be aiming for, somewhat safe. So it's just all about trying to leave that cue ball in behind the black. Of course, easier said than done. Can't really see it doing from two cushions, as much as tempting as that would be, because you have to be going really close to the jaw for the left middle, and that way, if you miss it, the cue ball is going to be going diagonally across the table, which is going to see the remaining two reds very much vulnerable there for Judd Trump. Now to watch live. Well, apparently it's on BBC Two, and I certainly know that he's going to be on TNT Sports and WSTV Play. Once again, it just depends on which region you're going to be watching this one from. So then, shot time approaching 90 seconds. We've seen that on numerous occasions yesterday from Si Xiaohui's point of view. And once again, it's a man from China against the top two of the world. Of course, very similar matchups in terms of the way that you've got Judd Trump and Karen Wilson approaching the first round matches with Si Xiaohui and Ding Junhui, but talk about that one later. So then, 1, 2, 3, 4 cushions, and it's a decent effort there from Ding. Still nowhere near the red, but the line certainly was there. He was probably just misjudging that one in terms of the pace of the cue ball. So, back to the original spot of the cue ball it goes. And once again, Ding Junhui will try to get himself in with a closer chance here. Of course, he still has got enough of those points as an advantage there over Chomp. And Dingle's once key amongst the Chinese players, but he's under downward spiral. Well, I think that's natural there because, he's not the youngest player on the tour right now. I think he had his best chance of winning the Crucible in 2017 2016 seasons, where he was entering some of his prime years. Of course, winning the UK Championship so early in 2005, beating someone like Stephen Hendry, you know, and being the champion of the Masters in 2011. Hasn't quite managed to do it at the Crucible, though, as attempt number 2 once again goes wrong there for Ding, but I think Trump is going to try and land even bigger of a blow here to the player from China, and taking this position away from Ding Junhui and just having a look if he's going to be able to get the cue ball in behind the black. Just has to make sure all 3 of those reds are going to be sent very much in open play. That's what he's tried, and well, I think he's got it perfectly in terms of the cue ball being landing in behind the black, but I think he could have done with the red that he was playing for being slightly further away from the ball cushion. And the 2 reds are still going to be very much in open play. And to be fair, access to the 3rd red, very much at the top part of the table, is still going to be limited there for Ding. And especially if you're going to be pushing that to the left part of the table, it's going to be very difficult for you to try and get that one safe. And yeah, so 68% for Watchalong to win this match. As I say, I think before the whole 6-2 chain, I would have had to say 6-3, 6-4. Similar one to the performance that I would have expected at the UK Championship. Remember, we have seen those 2 battle against each other previously this season. And that was at the quarterfinal of the first Triple Crown event, as Ding Junhui, once again, it's a decent effort, but he's going to have to try and put this one back. And certainly enjoying that one with the referee. Seeing the funny side of it for now, but that's 12 points now he's given away in terms of foul shots. And has to go for a change of direction yet again. So 10 points ahead right now. That number was 22 previously. Now then, that seems to be better. Is he going to have the pace? I think he will. Ooh, just about missed that one. I actually thought that the cue ball was going to land perfectly behind the red. In the end, that wasn't quite the case. And once again, the cue ball is going to be re-established in the former position. And he has 6 points right now to separate the 2 players. So still 51 in play, and of course that turns Watchalong into the favourite for this frame to be taken for now, but I think that's going to be very much a temporary thing, because 2 cushion escape, one of the right side cushion, one of the left, maybe use the ball cushion as well. Oh, he doesn't want to catch the other red though, it was very close to it, and he seems to have made the adjustment just about perfectly. It's a really nice shot for Ding Junhui, and right now it is going to be back to Watchalong. Try and get himself into, well, maybe into one of those another comfortable positions. Put Ding Junhui under a lot of pressure. He's managed to get 16 points of the previous couple of snookers. Maybe he's going to go for an attacking shot right now, because it's always dangerous to do that when you've been, you know, getting slightly cold in your chair. And that's probably why Chomp goes for another approach. So just a cross double in terms of sending the cue ball with a cross double trajectory. One of those reds has gone onto the top part of the table, bounced away from the black ball cushion nicely. And even though he has left a potential chance for the yellow pocket, I think it's very unlikely that Ding will attempt this one at such a late stage of the frame. And just as I say it, he has gone for it. He's missed it by considerable amount of distance though, and is he going to leave it over the right corner? Well, not quite on this occasion, so I think he got away with that one. And with him landing the cue ball so close to the ball colours, I think he's managed to cover up the other 2 reds, so got pretty lucky with that one. As I said, I don't really understand the value in taking that red on there, because right now you need an ideal chance to try and get close to a clearance, because both of the players will need 3 of those reds with expensive colours. That will be it for Ding Junhui to try and win the frame, and Chomp will need some of the cheaper colours as well for the last 6 colour clearance. First frame always a big boost to winning. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's probably not going to be the trailer of what's going to be there to come, because you know, sometimes you're going to have a very slow pace to the opening frame. We've seen that in Sean Murphy against Wu Yizhe. We've seen that in well, to an extent, Barry Hawkins and John Higgins, but that was more in the 2nd and 3rd frames. And it doesn't mean that the match is going to go in the same fashion, but it is going to be a great boost to Ding Junhui, I would say, because I think I'm going to be right in saying that he won the opening 2 frames against Judd in the Triple Crown event of the UK Championship, and he's gone on to lose 6 on the bounce, so of course, making that match to end with 6-2 once again, which is going to be a bit of a, well, magic number at the Masters so far in 2026. But a magic shot there from Ding, lovely little escape, and the cue ball control lands it in behind the blue, and even though there have been 3 reds at the top part of the table, I don't think that Chomp can see any one of them. And one of those reds being so close to the green pocket, Chomp has to try and ensure he's going to be able to take that one out of the game. And, well, task minimum has to be to ensure that you're not going to be leaving an easy chance away to Ding Junhui. And, you know, it's exactly what he's chosen. Still has to be careful. There's one more red very close to the yellow pocket. So he has to catch that one very thin on the edge, get the cue ball down the table, and he's played the shot absolutely brilliantly. So far, you have to say, has been a couple of silly shots taken in terms of long shots, but the safety play has been immaculate from both players. Special credit has to be given to Watchalong, because there's one thing trying to line up difficult shots on your opponent, but another thing has to be just trying to make your way out of those difficulties, and so far both Ding and Chomp were able to do so. Chomp doing that with sacrificing slightly lesser number of points there than Ding. Still yet to give the first foul points away, and well, I mean, is the red going to drop? He's going to have the pace, and I'm not sure Ding has played for that. Now then, is he going to be on the colour? He just about is on the pink. Chomp is not going to be amused about that one. I haven't really seen a hand of apology or something like that, but I also can't really imagine Ding taking this red like that. Well, I mean, I say I can't really imagine that. Apart from him taking that red into the yellow pocket, I can't really understand what could have been another approach for him, because if he was trying to play it into the reds, it would have been a very silly thing to do there. And, ooh, Ding there thought he's done the same thing as Judd on the green, but he manages to get a really nice shot and get the cue ball in behind the pink this time around. So, just 1 point score there. And, yeah, the cue ball landed perfectly behind the black, showing any other game split. Yes, so I am going to be a bit of a traitor tomorrow, because I'm not going to be in town. So, I'm going to miss, unfortunately, Zhao against John Higgins, but I will be back for the remaining matches of the Masters. So we'll have Weezer against Salgadon as the third quarterfinal. Then we're going to have, well, whatever lineup we're going to have in the sort of fourth quarterfinal as well. I think that's going to be Karen Wilson against either Chris Wakelin and Neil Robertson. But for now, it's a massive thing, and it's a massive twist in the opening frame, because the previous shot of Ding Junhui might have just won him the frame here, because it's a bad escape effort there from Chomp. And even though there's still going to be 35 points on the table, as long as Ding Junhui gets himself on the brown, which he just about does here, I don't think he's going to be able to get himself into an easy path here in terms of landing on that last red. So, could have done with taking slightly more time on the previous shot. And, yeah, he got the cue ball way too close to the brown. You can't be playing that shot with so much power as you would need to bounce away from the left side cushion. So, it's a shot on the yellow, or it's going to be just a safety being played, and that's going to be a waste there from Ding. So that's going to be a first real chance, which you have to say should have been frame over there from Ding's point of view. As he now gives the turn back to Chomp here. Accidentally given the point that Ding should have scored to Chomp. So, yeah, back to Judd it goes. Has to try and swerve around the pink and get the cushion first. Now then, the red is going to go close to the right corner, but is he going to be covered by some of those colours? Well, I think it's gone just about as close to the cushion as there was a requirement there for Chomp to make this red safe. Frame time approaching half an hour, and Ding has to try and play it swerve on himself. As he managed to do it. Oh, he got a double kiss. That could be curtains. That could be curtains there from Ding, because he got the cue ball up the table slightly. But this red is still going to be playable here for Chomp. And it's all about trying to find your way. Of course, get the red into the pocket. Don't take your eye off the pot too much. And then just, yeah, that's what he's looking at. He knows that he's got the yellow slightly out of position. So ideally, just land the cue ball on one of those bold colours. And he's going to be safe for taking the opening frame away. Oh, the cue ball was super close to the left middle though. I mean, that surely didn't go according to plan. And now then, he's not going to be perfect on any of those colors in terms of, he could pot any of them easily in terms of the brown, blue or yellow, but he's just trying to hold the cue ball back for the yellow being so close to its own pocket. Rolls the brown in, so he decides to put himself on a bit of a stretch now to try and go for this one. It would be another day of 6-2 wins. Well, I'm here for it. You know, Judd against Ding Junhui, their last meeting at the Triple Crown event a couple of months ago was actually finished with 6-2 in favour of Chomp. So, and that was with Ding Junhui taking the opening couple of frames. So, so far, Mr. Consistency this season has to be given to either Mark Selby or Judd Chomp, because the first one is already out of the Masters. Surely you have to say Judd Chomp becomes the favourite to be taking the crown. He's got a very tough opposition ahead of himself though, because I think he's got Mark Cullen, well, in the quarterfinals waiting after he manages somehow to defeat Ding Junhui here. And he's looking to make a solid step towards it though. And being 35 points down on at some point of this frame, he's going to be 7 points up here. And just taking the pink to make sure that the clearance of 26 points, 25 I should say, the highest of his frame so far, is going to be enough to take the opening frame away from Ding Junhui. And he's not going to bother with the black surely. 25 points from Judd Chomp, and that's going to be enough to be taking the opening frame away from the dragon. And it's the ace that manages to arrive in the pack again. And the last 16 doesn't seem to be going away to the plan here. Once again, you have to say that, you know, you can't really blame Ding Junhui too much for taking that risky plant on into the right corner, because, you know, he got the cue ball into the left corner at the same time, which probably was a blessing in disguise. I think Ding would prefer that rather than seeing the cue ball rattle in the jaws and stay so close to the black ball cushion or something. And now to 6-2 today, close to think, well, I mean, I don't really agree with you on that one, because I think we've got two similar styles here. And the way that Judd Chomp and Ding Junhui usually play there, you rarely see them go the distance. And that's why I think Judd Chomp will be taking this one quite comfortably. So I actually think this will be a perfect match for 6-2. So I don't actually see this one going distance. Spoiler alert for me, but I think it's going to be, every single frame that we witness is going to be a great enjoyment and fantastic entertainment, but I don't think we're going to be treated to 10 or 11 frames. That's going to be too much to ask. I think at one point there is going to be a shift in mentality, and I think that's going to have to come from Ding Junhui's point of view, because Chomp will still try and hang in there, but I think the mistakes at the end and the business part of this match have to come from Ding Junhui there. I think that's going to be from him facing sort of a gap of 4-1, 4-2, something like that. And then he'll just go for every long shot, every chance that he's got available. And in the end, that's going to be playing a negative role towards him from my point of view. But as I say, I could be very wrong on that one. As we approach the second frame, it is going to be a break-off shot by Chomp. I think didn't necessarily nail his one on the previous occasion though, as the cue ball is going to be going perfectly in behind the yellow. Fantastic shot there of the break-off. Didn't quite get it perfectly in behind the cheapest of the colours, but still going to be very satisfied with that one indeed. Ding Junhui has to try and find a cushion before he manages to catch any of those reds, hopefully for himself. And very thin on the edge to try and avoid giving any more foul points, which we have already seen about 24 given off to Judd Chomp in the previous occasion. And it's going to make it 28 if my math is correct, because it's going to be 4 more of those given away to Chomp. Oh, that might have got horribly wrong here, because, I mean, that's unlucky there from Ding Junhui's point of view. He catches right in behind the brown. That's going to leave the free ball chance. And there's not a chance in a million years that that's going to be refused there by Chomp. He's going to try and go for this brown into the left corner pocket. It's a long shot, but the way that he leaves the cue ball on for the ball colours, it's a risk-free shot once again. Because remember, this brown becomes the red for just one of those occasions. And, oh, he got close, but he didn't manage to do so. I'm surprised that he's gone for the blue shot. So he was trying to play the positional play on the blue. And, well, clearly checking all of those Reds' positions previously and making sure that he wasn't going to leave any easier of a chance away to Ding. So still, that was very much a risk-free shot there. It was a difficult shot there from Chum, but I actually expected him to get that brown in. The bookie's not taking any more bets of 16. Well, I made it as a joke, but I was just checking on the Higgins against Hawkins match yesterday. It was still 6-1 before the match had started, and I was like, I can't believe that. Well, in favour of Higgins, of course, it was about 25-1 when you talk about Barry, as, well, it's a bad shot there from Ding, because the red that he's pushed towards the left corner, it is going to be Judd Chomp that he takes the most out of it, and once again, it's another long shot that Chomp makes. Didn't quite make that on the brown, but in the end, it is going to be back to status quo, and he has got the perfect angle on either yellow or green. The brown, of course, has gone very much at the bottom part of the table for now. And that's going to be another advantage, of course, for Judd, because having the ability to mix it up with the black and the brown is going to be a nice little bonus for him as well. But for now, it's all about trying to find the next red, which you'll go for after taking the yellow, which surely has to be decision made. Off the left side cushion, guiding the cue ball nicely away. So couldn't find any straightforward red, so has to settle for a plant here to be taken into the left corner. Should be able to take this one, no problem at all. And yeah, I think the last two matches that we've got left out to us are going to be absolutely perfect for a 6-2 win for Neil Robertson and Judd Chomp. But as we have seen sometimes, you know, seen that with the Shanghai Masters with Ali Carter, you know, you can be underestimating wildcards badly, and then they come and certainly kick ass sometimes. With Ali Carter being the case, when he managed to be a last-moment wildcard and still managed to get within 2 frames of winning the tournament. As, I think that's gone wrong there for Chomp. Once again, trying to do his trademark move on the yellow this time around. A little bit not enough there in terms of the backspin. And just looking to see that he catches the blue here. So I don't think he's going to have any plan B of those plants. Certainly not going to have any one of those reds in open play. So just looking to find his way here. Of course, when it comes to taking one of those sort of slightly reckless shots there, you have to give the edge to Ding. So I would think that Chomp is just trying to make his way through a safety shot, which, I mean, even though you have got 13 reds still in open play, it is going to be very difficult for him to try and make his way through. And what's the 2 crowns with Chomp score? So that's just a little trademark that, you know, the one that you have on the monitor at the player's seat, like Chomp comes back to his now, when they've got a crown of a triple crown, basically, just saying that he's managed to complete the set of winning the Crucible, winning the Masters, and winning the UK Championship. So only a handful of players have done that. And of course, Junhui is still looking for that crown at the Crucible. So be having that luxury next to his name. But that only becomes relevant at the Triple Crown matches, as you would expect. So for now, I think you've got Chomp, you've got Murphy, you've got Selby, you've got the class of 92. And as long as I'm not missing someone obvious, I think that might be it. Yeah, trying to think about it. So Wilson is still missing out on, well, I think he's missing out on both Masters and the UK Championship. So Xiao Xington, of course, is missing out on the Masters. And Ding Junhui is missing out on the Crucible Crown. So I don't think I've missed anyone. Now then, it's a long shot available here for Ding. Average shot time, as you can see, 35 seconds, incredibly, for Ding Junhui, which, I mean, has to be one in a lifetime thing that you see. Especially playing against someone like as attacking as Judd Chomp there. And just having a look. If he's going to be able to go for this long shot, he has to make sure he gets the cue ball into the safe corridor. But I don't think that's going to be the case. Robertson Murphy. I did say Sean. Yes, I did forget about Neil. So that was my bad. I did forget about Neil. And it's a bit of a joke there because he's managed to do it very quickly when he rolled onto the scene. And I think he's actually managed to win the Crucible first, then he's gone to win the Masters and the UK Championship straight away after that. So, yeah, there's always one that you forget. And very sorry that was the thunder from down under at this point. Once again, more than 60 seconds taken here for Ding Junhui to try and go for this long shot. I mean, he clearly committed that he's not going to be able to find a better safety than this. And, well, there's always a chance of him trying to roll the cue ball closer to the black ball cushion. And, well, that's what he's tried. I think he is going to give away one of those reds available to be potted into the right corner, though. So I'm not sure if that was going to be the right approach for him to take on. So, well, he clearly felt that that was the best chance of him trying to get the cue ball somewhat safe. Yeah, I think the red that he was playing for just about goes through the black ball cushion and alongside it past the other red that he can try and drop it into the right corner. Or you've got another shot that Chomp can try and roll into the right middle. Well, I say roll, he's absolutely played that one with power, which usually has to be a no-no for taking those type of shots. You're never going to have them to bounce away in the pockets, but not if you're Judd Chomp. Brilliant shot once again, perfectly executed, and even though he's going to be on the wrong side of the blue, I think for the chance that he had presented to him, he certainly will take that. Gets the blue in, and, well, has he played a bit of a, well, hit and hope shot? No, probably not quite. But he hasn't played a good positional shot either. Maybe suggesting that the cloth made the cue ball fade away slightly. And supporting Ding. Well, I'll tell you what, Peter. He was supporting Karen yesterday, and he managed to win that match comfortably. Doesn't seem to be the case for now here. With Chomp seems to be taking control, certainly of the opening frame, trying to do a similar sort of thing in frame number 2 as well. Plays another good shot of a red into the right corner. Slightly underarm for the blue, but with him having such a difficult shot with the cue ball, having to rely on the positive contact with one of those reds, I think he certainly will take one of those outcomes. He still can try and go for the pink if he wants to, but I think the straightforward shot is going to be try and put a bit of distance in between the cue ball and the next red, and just settle for the next shot being the easier positional play for him. Now then, if he goes for this pink to be taken, he's going to be able to cannon the cue ball into another red, and he's played a wonderful shot once again. It looks very much effortless there, but it's so easy to just try and lose the cue ball in amongst those reds, and Trump has played 3 brilliant shots there. Probably neither of them was an attempt to try and split the pack, but, you know, those 3 shots, especially when you accumulate all of them, have actually demonstrated just how much he will mean to the positional improvement here for Chomp. And now 24 points probably is going to be, well, not telling the full story here, because this is going to be Judd Chomp's frame to lose. He's got a perfect position now that he still continues to make small adjustments to, just trying to make his way through the pink here. And sometimes, of course, playing for the pink spot is going to be easier than it is for the black spot. Just for the way you've got the pink right in the middle of those reds, and makes the positional shots with the cue ball being very simple indeed, where you just try to play on the left or the right part of the pink cushion, of the pink spot I should say, and try and get those reds to disappear into the left or right corner pocket. And Chomp is just slightly for the blue on one of those occasions. Once again, he's going to be back for the pink. The previous cannon that he made to the black has seen the most expensive colours disappear back to its own cushion. So that's not going to be a relative point of discussion for the time being. But Trump still should be able to make his way through the pink into the right corner. And certainly does that. 43 points advantage now for Judd Chomp. And, well, I think, unfortunately, I can't really see, and I've been very consistent with this one, but I think it's another massive advantage of being someone like Judd Chomp. I can't see the likes of Shaun Murphy, Ding Junhui. Well, I was going to say Mark Williams, but that's going to be slightly different style of play. But I can't really see the likes of, even Neil Robertson will be put in that equation. I can't see the attacking players that they are defeating Judd Chomp when he's playing well. And that was the case when he was playing against Ding. When he was playing against Robertson at the UK Championship, he's managed to beat both of them quite comfortably. And a bit of a stress earlier on with Robertson, but still, for that to be the semi-final, he was able to, not quite to be in the cruise control, but still certainly be in charge of the matchup. And when you've got such great experience And so many not so many world titles, but of course so many ranking titles that he's managed to win in his career. I'm not saying that it's impossible for someone like Murphy, Ding, or Robertson to beat them, but when he comes into that match, you just feel like that's exactly what's going to happen. You know, he's going to need one chance. He's going to have a very difficult position up ahead of himself, and then he's just going to disappear and destroy the opposition, which certainly was the case in the second frame. About to get himself lined up for the red, which takes him over the finish line in the second frame as well. So, blink and you'll miss him. It's not Ronnie O'Sullivan now. It is Judd flying through the gears. And this is why it was so important for Ding to try and take the opening frame away, because when it comes to those close frames, especially when you've got that edge over Trump, and well, by edge I mean 35 points in the previous frame with around 59 or so available, you had to make sure he's done better than what he's managed. That break of 36 points looked like it was going to be enough, but in the end it wasn't, and Trump just hanging in there. You know, once again, Ding could have made a better job of one of those reds that he was taking into the yellow pocket, running himself out of position on the brown. In the end, had to play a safety shot, and the next opportunity that got presented to Trump certainly was taken, and now we're all just waiting for a century break to be made. I think Trump made the mess of that slightly, and trying to cannon one of those reds into the open play. In the end, that didn't really work out, so has to try and settle for the pink. And he's going to be the wrong side of it as well. But manages to use just about enough there of the front jaw to drop the pink in. Once again, judging the power super well. And gets the red to wobble in the right corner, but still drops it in. So the break of 77 points. Still possible for, well, 119 on the previous occasion. That's going to be reduced to 116 as he takes the brown and puts it back to his spot. So once again, a brilliant break there from Trump. Very much controlled, and one of those that you have to say has been a perfect example that sometimes you come to the table and you think that, well, surely this position is going to be way too complicated to make me the winner of the frame. Well, sometimes, especially if you've got the skill and the game of Judd, you're going to be able to turn it into what hopefully is going to be a century chance. He's got all 6 colours on the spots, and he's got the break of 91 points to try and back it up as well. So still going for that 116 points here. The highest break of the tournament as far as I'm aware once again. It's been made by Wuyiza, 137. And as he takes the green and brown comfortably, only has got the blue to be taking it. There's another century break. Is he looking to try and hunt down Sean Murphy and Mark Selby as the two players that you probably would not have expected? I mean, Murphy I can understand, but certainly from Selby's point of view, he had an absolutely standout first part of the season, and so far dominating the majority of those stats, being the only player that has managed to win 2 tournaments in the opening part of the season, but also leading that century hunt chart. And, well, Judd, you can barely keep up with him with the scoreboard. It has been a brilliant performance once again there, as blink and you'll miss it. It is now Judd 2, Junhui 0. As we go into the third frame, all of a sudden, it has turned into a massive mountain to climb already. And it is going to be 2 mountains to climb if Junhui is going to find himself on the receiving end of things in frames number 3 and 4. Very difficult to try and turn the page in the same mini session, especially after a performance like that. You know, barely a 10-minute frame after a very lengthy opening frame, and Junhui has to find himself sitting in his chair throughout the 95% of that frame. He's going to be very cold and rusty coming back to the table, so has to try and ensure he's going to be able to warm himself up there with a couple of safety shots before he goes for one of those risky long shots. And yeah, gets him back in the equation here to be taking this match, not even the distance, but just make a competitive scoreline for now, because for now I would say that, you know, that 6-2 is going to be a very fine edge there in between of, right now I'd say it's probably going to be a good job for Ding to try and force that scoreline, especially if Trump continues to play the snooker that he has, and looking at more something like 6-1, because I think it's never going to be a whitewash. Ding is simply too good to be beaten by even someone like John by 6 frames to 0, especially when it comes to the Triple Crown tournaments. He does have a good history in the opening rounds of those. No, we would have to go back to, as I say, 2011 and 2005 for the only Triple Crown wins that he's had in his career. I believe Ding will make a significant comeback. I think we all hope so, apart from if you're going to be Judd Chomp's fan. I think Mark Allen fans are going to be cheering for that, because there's one thing about facing Ding Junhui in the quarterfinal. That's going to be an absolute chaos. That's going to be really fun. That's going to be control against chaos in terms of, you know, Mark Allen has got that edge in sometimes trying to slow the play down. And you know that for a fact that Ding Junhui's not going to be able to take that. And if he is to somehow turn this match around and get himself into that quarterfinal, he's going to be popcorn time for sure for the neutrals. And yeah, I think apart from that, if you are not Judd Chomp fan, you would hope to see a bit of a competitive matchup here. And for that to be the case, we need a couple of frame wins here from Ding Junhui, as he's going to have a chance here to get himself off to a good start in the third frame. It is going to be his break-off shot to try and line up a good start to frame number 3. As now he separates those reds away from each other. And yeah, it's a lot better of a break-off than what we've seen in the opening frame. But once again, he's going to have one of those long shots given away here to Chomp. And well, Judd has all the justification in the world for him to try and go for this one. He's got 2 frame cushion. He's been playing the snooker of the season pretty much in the previous frame. Especially having that ability to just try and play a supreme break like that in such a difficult position. Scoring 116 points with no answer at all from Ding Junhui's point of view. And yeah, Ding himself just having a look to see if he's going to be able to respond to the previous shot there by Chomp, because it was quite an intelligent shot there by Judd. He manages to send one of those reds once again, transition the cue ball onto the lower part of the table, and in contrast to that, try and send one of those reds to the top part of it, very much trying to block off the bulk line area. So Ding goes for an easiest option available to him, just sends the cue ball in behind the black. So shouldn't be too much of a trouble there for Chomp to try and make his way out of that position, but at least he's going to be in some sort of insurance there for Ding that he's not going to be put on the back foot straight away. Chomp needs to try and avoid the contact with the red closer to the right corner of the table, which he does manage to do so. He had a contact with it slightly afterwards, after catching the main pack pretty much full in the face. So Ding will probably just dictate the run of play for the next couple of shots, although he hasn't played a good shot here. And needed to have the cue ball tied to the black ball cushion. Instead, I think Chomp has got the ability to try and maybe send one of those reds to the right side cushion. Get the cue ball to be lined up perfectly on the black ball cushion himself. Got my money on Chomp. So it'll be good. Well, 130 as far as I remember, it was before the start of the match, which I think was probably about fair. I'd say 136 was probably the one that I would have gone for, because you can never write off Ding Junhui there, because he has got the ability of turning up as the perfect performer. And sometimes, you know, same thing has to be said about Chomp. Sometimes he's going to be, you know, slightly out of his league in the opening 3 or 4 frames. But it does look like if you got your money on Chomp, you don't want to cash out anytime soon, because for the time being, as I say, the way this match is going, it's only going to get better, and it's only going to get worse for Ding Junhui's camp, unless he manages to turn the page around, which is very much possible in snooker. It's one of those sports that no matter if you're going to be 5-0 down, it's not a time limit. You take it on a frame-by-frame basis, and if it's first and 6, we've seen that before. We've seen it at the UK Championship already. And of course, sometimes it happens even with the underdog. Sometimes the favourite is going to be leading 5-0. Just ask Stuart Bigham. And then someone like Scott Donaldson is able to come back his way into the match and get himself into the main draw. And still have a very good campaign at York, because that was the case in a couple of months' time. And we had a couple of good comebacks from Ronnie at the Saudi Masters, where he was behind a couple of frames on Chang Min-yu and Karen Wilson. He's tried to do a similar sort of thing there against Jack Lisowski. Wasn't quite able to do so, but at least he was able to give the spectators a chance to witness a thrilling decider, probably one of the frames of the season. when it comes to the pure entertainment and the nerve-wracking frame that was. Because Lisowski wasn't able to get the most joy out of that one, and I think he was knocked out in the next round by Barry Hawkins, I think it was. Gooden was 50-1 to win the tournament. Madness. Honestly, he was against Selby, but I mean, that's not madness to me. I would have had him absolute. Like, if you told me to say, if you called me to say that Selby would have beaten Mark Selby, especially for the way that Selby has been playing so far, I would have said absolutely no chance. So for him to be leading 3 or 4-0, that was, I would actually say 50-1 was probably fair to me. I know it seems madness right now, but that probably was fair to me because of... I probably would have expected him to be against Murphy, which would have been difficult again in the quarterfinal. So yeah, 50-1 probably was about fair to me. But fair play to Sal. It was brilliant against Mark. And sometimes when it's not your day, that's the beauty of snooker. You never know who's going to win. And I'll tell you what's going to be positive about this match, though. Ding Junhui clearly just taking the approach off. I'm going to try and hang in here. And let's see if he's going to be Judd to try and blink first. He's got a chance to try and take this red into the left middle. And boy, does he blink. I mean, that's brilliance there from Chump. The cue ball was so close to the black ball cushion. And that red was just about going through without touching the side cushion. And no contact to the front jaw at all. Slight contact with the back end jaw. But it's a brilliant shot once again by Chump. And he's going to be very much... as the seen as the dominant force once again there in the third frame. Pot success 96%. I know it's only 2 frames in a bit, but that is an incredible stat there for Chump. 68 for Ding Junhui on both safety and the pot success. 80 of Chump still being solid of 81%. Gooden was playing well in the Championship League last week. I saw it wasn't surprised. Yeah, but listen, I mean, Championship League is one thing, and when you turn up at the Triple Crown against one of the favourites for the tournament. I mean, if it wasn't for Selby, and I'll give you a bit of a spoiler of that, I would have said Selby's the favourite for me to win the Masters. He would have been Judd as the second one, and then he probably would have been, well, would it have been Murphy? Probably not, but I certainly would have had Selby as number 1 to win their Masters, so there's one thing about playing well in the Championship League, and he was. I remember he was playing well in the Championship League. He was able to, you know, have some confident wins of 3-0, 3-1, and sometimes taking it to decider against someone like Matthew Selt. I think when Selt made his maximum, he still got on to lose. Incredibly, that decided to Selt got on. Same here, I fancied him as he looked. Well, I mean, if you talk about Selby, I mean, that was brilliant. Or you talk about Godon, maybe. Yeah, I mean, listen, fair play. And sometimes you get it wrong, sometimes you get it right. And certainly looking forward to that Chinese derby, Weezer against Sao Godon. You know, Sao probably is going to be considered as one of the players that, you know, he's going to be slightly out of that league of Ding Junhui, Si Xiaowei, and Zhao Xington, and Weezer himself, when there's just like any chance, any opportunity that they see ahead of themselves, they're going to try and take it. Selby didn't play well, and Murphy was awful in his worst performance of the season. William, that's fair. I think Murphy's worst performance of the season was in the Champions of Champions. I've never seen him play that badly ever. I know he was compromised slightly by the Matchroom thing and stuff, but that Li Bei fan match was the worst that I've seen Murphy, I think, in my life. So that probably has to be the runner-up, but I mean, Weezer played super well. You have to say that. Apart from one of those frames that he lost purely because of his impatience, but 6-2 was probably a bit of a compliment to Murphy. I think that was the match which would have been worth 6-1, 6-0 for Weezer. He was absolutely brilliant. Back to Chomp though. He's got this red lining up into the left corner. Once again, looking like another potential frame. That looks to end without Ding Junhui scoring any of those points. We have seen that previously on the frame number 2. With around 124 points scored, 116 of them on the same break. Without any sort of answer, just needs the cue ball to run slightly more there. Trump taking no prisoners and trying to make it as tight of an angle as possible, getting the cue ball very close to that red, which sometimes can be limiting your ability to try and play that red. And I mean, from this angle, it doesn't actually look like it's possible. But with Trump clearly trying to play for it, he feels like it is. And in he goes. So no point to be concerned about that one, but certainly slight point of concern right now because unless Chomp is going to settle for the plant to be taken into the right corner, which I think is going to be, well, optimistic to say the least, because of the distance in between those two reds. I think he has to try and force the cue ball into the main bunch of reds and gets the cue ball on the side cushion. And, well, funnily enough, he managed to get too much spin of that. I think he's still going to be all right to try and continue the break. And I've got no clue how he managed to get so much spin on the cue ball, where he bounced nicely into those reds, bounced back onto the side cushion, and still came back to get himself in with a chance of taking the red into the right corner. Brilliant shot there by Judd, as he takes the black now shortly into the right corner as well. I'd like to see Ding return to the table this frame, and I don't think that's going to be the case. I think you're going to have to try and settle for the next frame, and well, this time around, I don't really have anything bad to say about Ding. It was, funnily enough, he was actually taking it, trying to take it slow, trying to be careful, and yet Watchalong manages to go for that incredible red into the left middle, and bot success now 97%, positional success 94%. Those stats are going to be absolutely outstanding when it comes to the first round of the Masters against such a great player of an opposition, especially after what we've seen in the opening frame. A couple of weird misses there from Chomp. Remember, he missed that brown to get him started with the second frame, and still didn't put too much of an effect on that particular frame for him, as he was still able to put on a century performance, and looking good for it now again. You know, let's probably wait for him to get one more red so that he's going to be clear with this frame, and then you can focus on the century being very much possible. And these lads getting confident in bigger matches now after winning line. Burned on before. Chris Wakeland will be no easy pushover tonight. Yes, looking forward to that one. And I think if Wakeland is going to be playing well, it is going to be a great opportunity for him to try and tell the world about himself. That Scottish Open win gets him back into the top 16 after spending the majority of last season in that one as well. As I said, Chomp does get over the line, getting that red. One of the simplest frame balls that you're going to see at the Masters. And points without reply now, 220, 116 on the century break previously, and now 69 points scored right now. He's going to go for that plant, which I mentioned. It's going to be a very difficult shot there, but sometimes that's what can happen. So much distance in between those two reds. That's a distance where it can go wrong. So 69 points there scored by Chomp, and that's not going to be back-to-back centuries, but it is going to be 3-0 over lead, and slightly too premature there. I thought it was going to be 3-0 lead. I'm very glad I've got an undo button here on the scoreboard, because I couldn't see Dean coming back here. But of course, technically, he can still try and go for a charge here. He's going to return to the table, but I think that's going to be pure formality, because he's tried to go for a double. I think this red is going to be seen there by Chomp. So he's going to be able to knock this one into the left middle. So that gives the turn back to Chomp here. 69 points ahead. So technically, of course, 3 snookers needed there for Ding. Or, as you might say, sometimes it is going to be one of those opportunities where if you land the snooker, you get the free ball. And then all of a sudden you don't need any more points. So I thought Chomp was going to be able to get that red in. That wasn't the case. And needs the cue ball to run though for Ding Junhui, because he doesn't want it to be straight on this red. Remember, he needs very much an expensive colour to be taken with it. Otherwise, he's going to be able to tie if he gets those 12 points away from Judd Chomp here. In terms of foul points being made, and he was able to push the cue ball through the side cushion enough there to land him nicely onto the black. So, because another thing about Ding there, he's not going to give up easily. He might try and force the play into his own favour there, but he's not going to be one of the players that he's going to try and, you know, give up too quickly. Be very eager to try and shake the hands of your opponent. For now, it is going to be a massive stretch for him to try and get the frame away from Chomp, but I think ultimately for now, until he gets one of those snookers on the board, it is going to be all about just trying to dismantle the rhythm of Chomp slightly and try and build some sort of a rhythm of your own. Remember, that stat of 220 points without reply is still going to be very much valid until the break of 16 points here. Ding is probably looking to go for that red to be taken into the left middle. 4 snookers not possible. Well, 3 snookers as far as I'm aware, because it is 10 points behind, so that makes it 3 snookers. And technically, if you leave that on the red, it is going to be possible there, but I think he's lost the cue ball. He's played a really nice shot there on the plant, because that was going nowhere near the middle, and he was able to adjust it well enough to drop the red nicely into the left middle. But right now, if he gets this blue in, he's going to need those 3 snookers to tie. And, well, he doesn't have a nice position on that red anyway, so yeah, it might just be one of those frames which is going to be a bit of too much of a margin for him to climb. I think he knows that. You can see that look of, as if to say, well, I mean, I've done my bit. I had the break of 22 points, but I mean, what on earth can you try and do here? Because it's a very awkward angle, or rather the absence of it, on the cue ball and the red. If he tries to push it past the pink, he has to try and play it with a straight line, which gets the cue ball and the red in a similar zone. You can't have an option to try and force the red to the right side cushion for the top part of the pink. So maybe just try and force this red onto the top part of the table. Decent effort there from Ding, but had very little control in terms of where the red was going to finish. And I think he's managed to do a decent job there, but he's not going to be one of the snookers that you would expect Judd to give 4 points away. Need to get 15 snookers to get 3. Well, probably at least, yeah, I get what you mean, because technically he lined up a snooker here on Chomp, and Judd is not going to make a mistake on this one. 1 cushion off the left side, and really nicely played there, getting that red somewhat safe as well. And putting it on the cushion is going to help, because that limits the ability of Ding trying to play the red into the lower part of the table. But I think it is going to be slightly tactical. You know, Ding is going to be taking those, not going to be taking those matches for granted at all. So he's going to try and battle it out, but also I think at this stage you have to try and disrupt the momentum that Chomp has managed to build over the course of the last couple of frames. You're not going to be able to do that though if you play shots like that, and surely Chomp is going to be able to roll this red in. There's not going to be any pressure on it. And, well, he wasn't able to do so, but I think he still managed to line a snooker somehow in behind the black here. And just a matter of time until Ding says, I've had enough of this one, and I'm going to be out of here, and try and make it on the 4th frame, which, by the way, spoiler alert, if he loses that one, 6-0, 6-1 is going to be very much the scoreline to look for. And incredibly, of course, when you talk about the predictions before this match, I think 6-2 would have been the prime one for me. Maybe 6-3 to be fair, if you give a bit of credit to Ding, and if he's turned up on the arena playing nicely, but never thought he was going to be 6-0, but he's halfway there certainly now. Brilliant long shot on the 3rd time of asking Chomp is able to get the last red that he needed. Purely technical point of view there. And gets the brown with it as well. And 6-0, 6-1 to Chomp. Yeah, you have to say at this stage, surely it's not going to be coming back for it. And yellow is going to be taking along the side cushion there. Chomp tried to force it. So once again, playing a bit of an exhibition style there. But he certainly could afford to do that. 52 points clear. With 27 at the table. Nobody's coming back to the table from so many points down. And 3-0 there. The advantage for Chomp over Ding Junhui. The 4th frame turns into a must-win there for Ding. Otherwise, he's going to be in loads and loads of trouble coming into that 2nd mini-session without the match really getting underway for him. You know, he had the breaks of 36 and 22 to try and speak for himself, but it's been nowhere near good enough, especially the way he's managed to keep Chomp quiet throughout the majority of the opening frame. And that last 25 points of a clearance, it actually looked like Chomp was the one struggling in the opening frame, making so many of those errors. And it does look like, I think that pot success is going to be compromised massively with that comeback from Ding. Or rather the attempt of it. And, you know, when Chomp was going for those long shots, when he was going for that red into the left corner, when he was taking that yellow on along the side cushion, I think all of that is going to be taken into account. So the number is going to drop there from 97 points, but 97%. But when it comes down to the points that actually matter, Chomp seems to be playing them ever so well. And looking to be a real threat, of course, for the title. You know, you've had The top seeder player already knocked out on the first day with Sean Murphy. We've had the winner of the Triple Crown event, of the last Triple Crown event, being knocked out in Mark Selby. Jalsington, as the current world champion, is still in this one. So, 2 of the last 3 winners of the Triple Crown events have been knocked out. And the 4th one is going to be Judd Trump himself. Of course, winning the UK Championship last season. And right now looking to establish himself into a massive gap there. Very close to catching the blue, though. On his way up the table. And manages to avoid... Well, the Cubo manages to avoid that and steer left of the blue. So it just seems to be all going really, really nicely there for Chomp. And as I say, just a matter of time until we're going to see Ding Junhui just to try and throw everything at a couple of those long shots. Now, there's the first one. You can see that one coming, and I was very surprised that we didn't see any of that in the 3rd frame. And the same red is going to be potable into the yellow pocket, and it's difficult to criticize Ding because he's one of those players that needs a bit of confidence, needs a bit of rhythm to get him going. But you have to say he could have waited for that shot to be taken on a couple of occasions. But, I mean, to be fair, this is why you have to praise Judd Trump so much that he's unplayable today. The first frame was 50-50. You have to blame Ding on that one, yes, because it was a complacency issue. Running himself out of position on the colour when the finish line was there. But that was pretty much a 50-50 battle, which Trump was able to find himself on top of, being 40 points down or so. Then, we had a very difficult position for him in the 2nd frame, and he still managed to make a century break. And then, you know, we've had Ding Junhui playing some great safeties on the previous frame. And then still, you've got Judd Trump finding out that perfect, ready into the left middle. Getting himself a break of 69 points, which has done all the damage. He's not able to do this one here, though. Leaves this red over the left middle for Ding Junhui. So at least it's going to be a real opportunity for Junhui to try and get him on the score sheet. Whilst the frame is going to be alive there for the first time since the opening frame, of course. Because as much as you want to say, that comeback of scoring 22 points while still being 3 snookers down without the free ball was never really gonna happen there for Ding, was it? Had the reputation, though. I think he was one of the players on the tour that actually had to face 4 snookers before and was able to get himself to win the frame. It certainly wasn't in 2025, I'll tell you that for free. Or 2026, as we now enter the new era and the new year of snooker. Hoping that he's going to be providing us with just as much variety as 2025 did. And I think incredibly, we didn't see Judd Trump winning in 2025 at all, as far as I'm aware, which is an incredible stat for you to be aware of. Yeah, his last title comes in November of 2024, so he had 12 months without trophies, but ultimately he had the entire year without winning any of those ranking events. And still, without those in 2025-2026 season, because got himself into the Belfast final, lost out to Jack Lisowski, got into the Champion of Champions final, was the runner-up to Mark Selby in both the Champion of Champions and the UK Championship as well. Lost it 4-0 down, needs this frame on going home. I would love to see a frame on the board for Ding. Yes, I think we all do. As long as you're not Judd Trump fans. There has been 6 maximums made in the history of the Masters. And Ding Junhui has 2 to his name in 2007. Incredibly, I mean, 2007 for Ding. I mean, he had a couple of prime years there. He had 2005, 2006, 2007, where he was unplayable. And of course, making that maximum a couple of seasons ago in 2024. Right at the start of the year. And I think he's the only player to have 2 147s at the Masters. I think you've got Marco Fu with 1. You've got Mark Cullen with 1. And then you've got Sean Murphy with 1 more as well. Ding's love. Yeah, I mean, the question was asked before this match has started. Are we likely to see a 147? I mean, you wouldn't have a better lineup for a 147 to be happening. Because Ding Junhui, as much as sometimes he's going to be struggling for form, he's got that incredible ability to turn the page on like that and flick a switch basically, and then he's going to be a real threat for a break of 140 plus, which You know, you need all the pieces to be perfect for you. And sometimes when he's got that chance, he's going to be able to take it. And when he comes to Judd, he's made one this season. I think that was at the China Grand Prix, right at the start of it. And the reason I remember that one is because he was joking around with Aaron Hill, saying that he loves a maximum more than he loves a trophy. And Aaron Hill says, well, I better trade with him because I do want a trophy a lot more than a maximum. Even though, of course, making a 147 is always going to be a special for a snooker player. Kirk Stevens, yes, you know what? The reason why I know that is because there was a stat yesterday, and I thought he had one as well. But it was also the reason why I didn't mention it because I didn't know his first name, because it was just saying K Stevens. But you obviously do know your stat there. I think that was way beyond my generation. And Kirk Stevens is going to be joining that elite club with Ding Junhui, making 2 of those. And when it comes to the elite stats there, of course, he has quite a good record at the Masters. When it comes to the appearances being made 20, debuted on 2004. And even though it might not look like it, he's had 35 matches. He's managed to win 17 of them and lose out on 18 of those. And, you know, one final, lost on one of those as well. His break, as we mentioned, 147. But when it comes to the Masters, it is the tournament that is going to be unlike any other one, because you're going to be up against the top 15 players in the world, plus yourself. So when you've got a 50-50 record in terms of you win just as many matches as you lose, that's going to be a perfect outcome for me, because you start from the last 16, and any match that you win brings you into the latter stage logically. So, you know, there's no shame in losing out on the semi-final or the quarter-final appearance. As Ding goes for another great shot there. So he's trying to get himself back in this match. It's going to be very much the requirement of taking this frame away from Chomp. Barely 90 minutes since the match has got underway. With the first frame being quite a lengthy one. The second certainly wasn't. The third one probably wasn't at all until we have seen a later attempt of a comeback. But, you know, you can criticize and say that Ding probably was in the wrong for doing that. But he was able to slow down the momentum of that Chomp machine. And look what happened in the 4th frame. He's on the break of 51 points. So his first 50-plus break. And the improvement on the opening frame of 36 points being made. Now that it is going to be Ding Junhui trying to take the pink into the left middle. And, well, he's kind of stuck there. He can take the black, no problem, into the left corner. He's got the perfect angle to try and make his way around that red. And still has got one more for cover into the left corner. Or the left middle that he can try and take. And I think he's going to play for the one into the left corner. Lovely break this has been, because, as I say, nowhere near the difficulty of a position that Chomp had to make his way through in the 2nd frame. But, you know, Chomp was coming back to form on that frame. Ding is still trying to re-establish himself back in the match. And that certainly was the way to do it. Once again, it does look like we're going to be heading into the intermission with the 3-1 advantage for one of the players. Remember, that was the case with Barry Hawkins against John Higgins. That was the case with Weeze against Sean Murphy. And that was the case with Karen Wilson against CJ Wee as well. It could have been 4-0. And, of course, the chance that Ding Junhui managed to get was after a mistake from Chomp. He had an ordinary shot taken into the yellow pocket. I think he was trying to focus too much on the positional play, because of missing the red into the yellow pocket by such a big margin, leaving that one over the left middle. And what followed was a break of 72 points and counting, and getting older. Well, I wouldn't really say knowledge he's going to be getting older. He's just having more knowledge, as I say. Sometimes you shouldn't be limiting your knowledge just to your generation, but you know, I suppose you can't have it both ways. Now then, certainly can have a frame here to Ding Junhui's count, 73 points and counting. So can we see the 2nd century made in this first round clash? So still yet to get a first real chance there at the 147. Great frame from Ding. See you after the intermission. Yes, hopefully we are going to be seeing a lot more of Ding Junhui. Because, as I say, as much as I do have a bit of a soft spot for Chomp, never really had a special place for him. I mean, I've got great respect for him and the way that he plays the game, but never going to say that I've been a supporter of him. It's always been that, Ronnie O'Sullivan and, of course, Yao Xington rolling onto the scene last season, but always enjoyed watching the type of matches like a Judd jump against Ding Junhui because it's not going to be boring, it's going to be entertainment, and that whoever wins, I'm actually going to be enjoying and cheering for in the next round. And once again, it's a lovely shot there from Ding. Gets the red into the left middle very nicely. Yes, but I love it. More snooker. Yeah, listen, it's all about that. And of course, from the neutral point of view, there's one thing about enjoying the performance of if it was 6-0 or 6-1 in favour of Judd, but we all want to see, from neutral's point of view, we always want to see more of snooker. So if it is to go 11 frames, as much as I think that's unlikely, but I'll be here for it. And I'll be enjoying every bit of it. And so far, it's a lovely little break there of Ding. So the second highest in the match. Ever since he's managed to go over that break of 69 points being made by Chomp in the previous frame. So still has got 2 shots for the century break. And just taking the eyes slightly off the pot there. Missing the red by significant margin. And the break of 98 points is going to do, though, for Ding Junhui as we now enter the intermission. And Judd Jump is still very much the favourite for making the quarterfinals. Once again here at the Masters. Can he make and break that chain of one-time winners? We've had Yang Mintao, Stuart Bingham, Neil Robertson, Judd Jump and Ronnie O'Sullivan as our last 6 winners. Well, can it be one of those players to try and repeat the history? We're going to have to rely on Neil Robertson or Judd Jump as the other ones are going to be knocked out. Some of them not even featuring with Stuart Bingham and Ronnie O'Sullivan here. But quickly on the stats though, 263 points for Judd Jumps, 170 for Ding. Ball spotted 74, 252. Pot success 93 there for Chomp, 91 for Ding. So, numbers being pretty close in that one. Long pot success 67% for Chomp, 50% for Ding. 64% to 70 in favour of Judd once again in terms of the safety play. So Chomp seems to dominate all of those stats apart from maybe pot success. Taking a couple of those risky shots. Does look like that brought the number down. But he's still very much in cruise control for the time being as we approach the 5th frame in about 15 minutes time. See you all soon. Stay tuned in. We got the best of action yet to come.
do I love the touch but never love the feeling? Why do I, baby, why do I love the way you always leave me? Why do I, baby, why do I love the touch but never love the feeling? Staying up when I go out, you gotta know I'm all yours. But when I say what's that about, you start slurring your words. Tell me why you have to seem so distant when I'm holding you. Your fingertips are drifting away, and I fucking love how it hurts. Why do I, baby, why do I love the way you always leave me? Why do I, baby, why do I love the touch but never love the feeling? Why do I, baby, why do I love the way you always leave me? Why do I, baby, why do I love the touch but never love the feeling? Why do I, baby, why do I? Why do I, baby, why do I? Why do I, baby, why do I love the touch but never love the feeling?
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, and just waiting for the players to come back onto the arena for the match between Judd and Junhui to resume. And so far, he has lived up to all the expectation, certainly from Judd's point of view. Certainly looking forward to seeing maybe slightly more from Junhui's point of view right now, after he's managed to get himself back into the picture. Whilst winning the 4th frame. It is now up to Judd if he wants to try and respond here and get his gap back to 3-frame advantage over Junhui. And he's going to be the player from China to try and get himself underway on frame number 5. Now then, just trying to make sure he's going to avoid the 1st frame disaster and to not leave any of those reds too close to the left middle. Because on that occasion he was able to get the brown in between the cue ball and the target couple of reds. And right now it's a brilliant shot that he's played there. In terms of the left part of the table, not so much with the right though. He has got one of those sort of remote reds available here for Trump. So let's see if Judd is going to be able to take that one away. And boy, he did. Brilliant shot there from Trump. And here we go, putting boots on. Yeah, Kevin was ahead of the game. He called it before I did. It's a brilliant long shot there by Trump. And, wow, I mean, what a shot that is. It looked like it was a good break-off there by Ding. But, you know, just one chance. And sometimes one glimpse is all it takes for Jump to be underway. And, yeah, he's brilliant there with the start. And straight away, nice shot with the blue. Getting the cue ball. Just about enough of the backspin to make sure he's going to hit the right part of the right side cushion. Gets himself, well, probably was playing for the other red to be fair. But because he's got a nice angle on the red closer to the left corner pocket, he has got the ability to try and play around the black once again. Of course, the red that I previously mentioned is going to be in the way of the black being taken into the left corner. But that's going to be, well, changed in a couple of moments' time. Because Trump obviously realising that, played for a backspin shot. Once again, just a nice little combination there for him. And oh, it just seems to be stuck there. And you thought if the stream image was frozen, but that clearly is going to show that Trump is not really happy with the way that he's going to be on this red. And just making sure that he has got the ability to try and play through it. And in the end, after a couple of nervy seconds, he is able to do so. So back to the basics there for Trump. Gets himself lined up for the black to be taken now onto the opposite part of the table. And still, as I say, barring that pot success being rather close after the brilliant performance in the 4th frame from Junhui, Trump has managed to dominate all the other aspects of the game. Ball spotted 80 to 52 in his favour. Positional success 95 to 82. So that's a massive dig at the way that Junhui has managed to perform in the opening 4 frames. And remember, that was a lot worse before the start of the 4th frame. But incredibly, of course, table time is going to be shared evenly going into this frame. And now Trump is going to take the edge there. So 51 to 49%. That's something that you wouldn't actually expect there. Just probably another indicator just how much time is being spent when Junhui is at the table. His average shot time is going to be a lot worse and a lot longer, I should say, because it's not really a stat that you can justify. But for the attacking player, you always want to be having as little time on the average shot clock as possible, because as long as you're winning, of course, that's going to be suggesting that you're playing really well, you're playing some smooth snooker, and you don't need to be taking any extra seconds on some of those difficult shots. Trump there gives a little nudge to the main pack of reds, trying to take them out one by one for now. He had a couple of shots in the opening couple of frames, probably in the first one, where he wasn't able to split the pack perfectly. And ever since he has taken that approach on trying to take those reds one by one there, just free up more space for the cue ball to travel into. And just that's going to be the way for him to try and make his way through scoring those points. And of course, we've spoken about Masters record for Junhui. We should mention that about Trump as well. 15 appearances, debut in 2009. Won 20 out of 32 matches, incredibly. 36 centuries that he's managed to take. highest break being a 1-4-3. And 2 finals that he's been to, he's managed to take both of them away from the opposition. And once again, just getting himself lined up for this black to be taken. So he's on 47 points. And, well, he's played a good shot in terms of getting the black in. And all of a sudden, I think he's put himself under a little bit of pressure because there's still going to be more than enough points at the table. It's going to be 9-1 right now. And that's probably why he was slightly reluctant to try and play into the bunch as soon as possible, because despite that giving you more of a chance in terms of the number of reds that you can try and land on, sometimes you can have one of those reds that he's going to be in the way of the rest of them, and that's exactly what happened to Chomp. Unless he wants to try and take the difficult cut into the right corner, but that's probably the risk that he doesn't have to take at this stage of the match, especially trying to get himself into a 4-1 lead. And yeah, getting the cue ball to send onto the left side cushion. Doesn't want to contact with the brown, but he will have that contact pretty much full in the face. So gets the cue ball to stop on the brown spot basically. And a couple of those reds still possible there for Ding. And remember, the brilliant opening shot that actually got Judd Chomp into this position to be 54 points clear, with having 91 still at the table here. So it was on for a 1-4-5 potentially, because that was going to stop as the last shot of the black just didn't get him on any of those reds. So now then, it's a real queuing test for Ding Junhui, and he got himself certainly a card back in this frame. And all of a sudden, I mean, in a split second, it has gone from Judd Chomp being the firm favourite to Ding Junhui just about taking the edge there, because he's got a perfect position up ahead of himself and give himself a little bit of a positive body language as well as he was approaching that shot on the black. Now then, takes the black itself, gives a little nudge to those reds as well. That's going to be a perfect bonus. And, well, listen, when you're 3-0 down, that's going to be very different to being 3-2 down. And right now, Ding Junhui has got all the ingredients up ahead of himself. He's got 75 points at the table. Not going to need all of them. And, yeah, if he just manages to make his way through those 6 reds, as I say, the brown is going to be the only colour out of position. And, yeah, this could really be the turning point, if there ever is to be one. Because that'll guarantee that it's not going to be a sort of 6-1 win for Chomp. So that 6-2 scoreline is still going to be possible, but unlikely, I should say. Because despite seeing Judd Chomp to win the opening 3 frames, I think it's very unlikely for us to witness that twice there. Of course, never saying possible, but for that to be the case, Ding still needs a break of 65 points or so to get out of the remaining 67 points here. Because he, as I say, and I repeat myself, he's not going to need all of them, so it has to come down to just getting through all of those reds, which there's going to be 5 remaining of right now. This will be Ding's final appearance in the Masters tournament. Big call. And gonna disagree, because I don't really see any sort of reasons for that to be the case. I think he has got a couple of years still in him. And go on Ding, well, Peter's certainly going to be enjoying that one. And he's now 29 points down. He's got 4 easy reds, but of course 3 of them being so close to each other, sometimes that can be a bit of a problem, especially for you to try and make the cue ball through those shots. Now then, takes the black nicely into the right corner, just wants the cue ball to run slightly more. And yeah, you can see this shot from Chomp made a bit of a mess for himself, but I think Ding Junhui, the camera still hasn't shown it, but I think Ding Junhui's made a bit of a mistake himself. Has to take this red probably into the yellow pocket. As far as I could see, yeah, he's trying to take it into the left middle, but it's going to be a difficult shot for him to take on. Just has to try and use that back-end jaw nicely, and he has. Now then, has he got just about enough angle on the blue? He can't afford to be straight on this one. He's got a plant available into the right corner, but that's way too similar to the one that Judd Chomp has missed previously. And yeah, just slightly too straight, and also going to have the cue ball too close to the side cushion. So this is tense. He knows better than anyone. Oh, this is too straight, surely. for him to be making this one. I mean, this is going to be a shot for the frame for Ding Junhui because of how straight it is. The cue will be to the so close to the cushion, and he's played it absolutely perfectly. And the camera was very much zoomed in on the pocket. I don't think he could have played it any straighter and any closer to the center of the pocket than he has, having such a, well, big margin to any of those jaws as well from such a difficult shot. Surely that was the defining shot of the frame, but nevertheless, still has got around 7 more to make his way through. After the black is going to disappear, taking him to just 8 points behind. And yeah, he wants to see this red underneath the pink though, because, well, I mean, it's not crucial, but I think you want to see it and just take it away out of the game right now. Just give him more control in terms of trying to play for the next red on the last shot before transitioning to the top part of the table. Taking time though. Whilst being down in the shot, and yeah, you can see why. He just wants to check it one more time. You know what happens when players take so much time to check on those positional plays. They seem to refuse the shot if there is a possibility for that. That's exactly what Ding has done. As I say, it's not going to be the end of the world. Just going to have a slightly more of a problem to try and deal with on the last red, and with that transition onto the last colour before taking on the yellow. But you should still have the ability to guide the cue ball past the blue. Doesn't need to play into the pink. As far as I'm aware, I mean, he does seem to be taking the shot pretty seriously, which, you know, suggests if he has to try and take it into the pink, then, well, it is going to be slightly more of a difficult shot than it could have been, as I say. And he has to hope for a good outcome. And, well, I have to say, I don't really understand that because he's made the mess of that completely, and now he's got a very difficult shot. I don't understand a few things now. Let's just wait and see if he's going to be able to get this red. Why was he trying to play the shot that he just did? Because he was never going to get that red anywhere near the left corner. He was always going to push it closer to the black and just leave himself with such a difficult shot that he's taking on right now. Does seem to be a pretty good player with the rest. But, well, I mean, if the previous red that I mentioned was going to be the shot for the frame, then this surely is going to be the shot for trying to turn the match around. He's managed to do it. Now, is he going to have the luck on the colour? And I don't think he's got it. That's unlucky. That's unfortunate. And Ding clearly isn't happy with himself. Flop the chop. Not yet. Not even in this frame. And he's certainly not going to be able to flop it while still being ahead there. Being a favourite to be in the quarterfinal. And Ding is not over the line yet. He's got, well, I don't know if he can try and cut this green into the yellow pocket, or he has to try and go for the blue to be taken. I think the good news for him is, well, I mean, it's a bit of a hidden hope for that, but Trump will need the blue. So if Ding misses the blue and he goes onto the cushion, then, you know, it's still going to be according to the plan there, or somewhat according to the plan for Ding. But he can't risk it right here. He's 3-1 down. And you can't risk of being 4-1 down. So 1 point in it. 27 at the table. And back to Judd it goes. Just a safety that Ding Junhui has played. So getting a little cannon on the green. Try and push it slightly closer to the yellow pocket. And then Chomp once again responding. Getting the cue ball onto the top part of the table. Sending the yellow perfectly on the side cushion. Just about firing off of the left middle for it not to be playable. And maybe a cross double is going to be possible there for Ding. Because if he gets the cue ball pretty much tucked in onto the ball cushion, although, as I say that, I mean, the green is not going to be potable from that position, so that's going to probably take all the value out of that shot. And instead, he's trying to get the cue ball to get stuck into the black, and despite him failing at that, he's managed to have a perfect cannon on the yellow, and for it to be a part of that cluster of the brown and green. And right now, I don't think it is going to be visible there for Trump. So the perfect outcome for Ding Junhui on this occasion. Still shouldn't be too difficult for Trump to make his way onto the yellow. And it's all about trying to just make sure he's going to be able to hit the yellow itself here, but also get it safe so that Ding Junhui doesn't have a chance, which surely is going to be the last one that he needs in this frame. for him to be the winner and get that gap down to just a single frame in between himself and his opponent. Of course, if the match was close stat-wise in the previous 4 frames, I wouldn't really say it's been close purely for the eye test. As Chomp now, for the first time I think in the match, it's taken more than a minute on the shot, and well, it's hard to say that it wasn't a hit at hope. And I mean, the only reason that I'd say probably wasn't is because he was trying to get the yellow in such a way that he was going to leave it on the top part of the table, but that certainly hasn't gone to plan. And the yellow is going to be possible into the same pocket. It does remind you, though, of the shot that Judd has missed himself on the 4th frame. Has given a chance away to Ding to produce that break of 69 points. And, well, in the end, he's managed to do so. Brilliant there from Junhui. And, well, he's got a brilliant chance now to being just 1 frame away there of his opponent. So, 1 point ahead. And still having all of the colours pretty much there or thereabouts according to their spots. Green is going to be slightly out of position, but a straightforward backspin should try and hold the cue ball for the brown. And then I think he's going to need the blue for the frame to be his for the taking. He now puts himself 8 points clear. So technically, of course, blue will put him 13 points clear. So he still needs the pink to avoid giving a chance to Judd for a respot. But with the pink being so close, although does have a bit of the... well, maybe a hard time with the cameraman because Ding has gone up from the shot and all of a sudden, the cameraman has gone away from the picture as if to say, don't want to disturb you on that one. And doesn't look like he's done too much damage there to him, although it's overrun slightly for the pink, so has to go for a bit of a stretch. Guaranteed himself a respot, but would very much like to be guaranteeing himself a frame on the board, and that is the case. 19 points clear and 7 points on the table. It is another frame for Ding Junhui under... well, different circumstances than what we've seen in the 4th frame. But this time around, Judd is unable to respond to it. And a couple of chances to do so. Had the opening chance to try and dictate the run-off second mini-session as well. In the end, wasn't able to do so. And the safety displayed after the break of 54 points clearly didn't get him into a comfortable enough position to be trying to put all the pressure on Ding. He was able to make the long shot into the left corner, get himself into a real opportunity. In the end, well, messed that one up slightly after taking the red into the left corner pocket, run himself out of position on the green. In the end, had to take a safety and evasive action. And still was able to do it from the second chance, though. And now he's only 1 frame away there, so 3-0 turns into a 3-2 of a deficit for Ding Junhui to try and overcome. And, well... if he wins the next frame, all of a sudden, it is going to be not even right back at this one, but he's probably going to even reduce chances of Chomp actually being the winner here, if you compare it to the ones that there have been at the start of the match. And a remarkable comeback is underway. Game on. Well, if Ding manages to do so from 3-0 down, I mean, that's going to be nothing short of a remarkable comeback. I still don't think he will, but I do think that we are going to have the first match, which is finally not going to finish with the score being 6 frames to 2. And Judd is shaking. Well, he had his little bits there, which don't really understand. 2 shots really you have to focus on. The first one was the shot that he was playing after making the break of 54 points. I don't really understand why he couldn't get himself not to miss the brown, because that was where he all started. You know, he's 54 points down. All you have to do is try and put one of those reds safe, which he didn't. And then, you know, he didn't get the cue ball into a safe place anyway. So that was a horrible shot. And then also, of course, the yellow, which is given away to Ding, was made after a bit of a hidden hole shot, which, I mean, he has taken more than a minute on. But also, I have to say, for the decision that he's made, you can't tell me that there would not have been a better decision for him to try and make his way through. But in the end, he can't be perfect, and he's only human after all. And this human has to come back to the table for the 6th frame to be underway in a very, well, very different mood to the one that he was doing last time at frame number 4, being 3-0 up. And of course, that was the first frame that he's lost after very similar to the break-off, to the one that he's just done now. Of course, forcing Ding Junhui to go the wrong way around. And on that occasion, Ding has given a free ball away somehow, getting the cue ball in behind the brown. See if that's going to be the case here, though. As Ding probably has to do the similar sort of thing here. Once again, I think he has to try and use the right side cushion, then bounce the cue ball off the black ball cushion and try and give red a little nudge into the top part of the table. I mean, it's always going to be an option of trying to go into the side of the bunch, but he has to be very careful not to touch the pink, and that's what he's done. Well, I think he got a good enough touch on the pink to ensure that he was going to be able to get away with this one. So the pink is going to be respotted, so that's 6 points given away to Chomp. So once again, just getting all of those out of the way. And still, by the way, Chomp, even though he has had a couple of weird snooker escape shots, he didn't manage to give away any of those foul points away, which I have to say didn't really help him in the previous frame. But so far, when it comes to foul points, so being the Ding Junhui story, can't afford to hit the pink now, and he hasn't, because I think he would have, well, technically, to be fair, he wouldn't have the 3 mils rule apply to him, because that's why you're playing into the bunch of the cushion anyway. So that wasn't relevant at all, but it wasn't relevant for the reason of Ding Junhui catching the red as well, and Chomp will just try and play the simple shot. Cue ball off the left side cushion after a minor contact with the reds, and this time around, well, you have to wonder why he could not have played a similar shot to this one in the previous frame. Would have been a very different story, and very likely would have been leading Junhui by 4 frames to 1. Instead, is only 1 frame in it. It's about 70 points that he takes for one of the players to take it, and you can see the stats have gone pretty much level there. 94% of pot success for each. Long pot success 75%, incredibly for Chomp, by far the best that what we've seen in the opening round matches. And long pot success 67% for Ding Junhui. Average shots time is still considerably less in terms of seconds for Chomp, 20 in comparison to 27, and the highest break still remains there of that brilliant century made in the second frame for 116 points. And Ding Junhui's break of 98 points. Well, the time for him to try and shine. Now then, having one more look to see if he's going to be able to get the cue onto the top part of the table. He was able to get a bit of initiative there on Chomp, and not allowing Chomp to try and get the cue ball to travel the long way around the table and get it back up to the table and past the balk line. In the end, this time around, it is going to be Ding Junhui trying to do so. He wants to avoid the contact on the brown though, and he hasn't managed to do so. So that's going to open up the play slightly, because there's going to be one less colour which you can try and land the cue ball in behind. There goes my forecast. Well, mine is still just about in play, but I'm not sure how long that's going to last for. Because, well, before the match started, obviously, you would expect I've gone for 6-2, but I did always have the feeling that it was going to be maximum of 6-3 and never going to go to 6-4 or 6-5. Table time, incredibly now, it is going to be more percentage for Ding Junhui there, 54 in relation to Ding, and only 46 when it comes to Chomp here. So once again, Chomp is able to find the route for the cue ball to send it to the top part of the table. Well, I mean, I thought Ding Junhui caught that one a bit too thick, but with the cue ball heading in the perfect direction, diagonally across the table and closer to the yellow pocket, it's now going to be pressure on Chomp to try and find a very thinker on the left-hand side if he is to try and get the cue ball to the top part of the table. That's going to be more of a necessity rather than a luxury there for Chomp, because if he's unable to do so, he can't really try and send the cue ball to the lower part of the table, because by doing that, what I mean is trying to send the cue ball onto the black ball cushion. By doing that, you'll always have a couple of reds to try and follow the cue ball, So he had to try and take it into the bunch. He wants a lucky kiss of the brown, and he's not going to get it, it would seem. I think there is going to be a way for Ding, certainly to go into the left corner, but I think he's going to be looking for the right corner slightly more. That one he's going to have the angle for the cue ball to be sent towards the blue line. Black being out of the game after the previous shot by Trump. And, well, I mean, for all the numbers and for all the stats, it does look like we are seeing the revival from the ashes there of the dragon, quite the phoenix. And Ding Junhui is going to be able to get himself in with a real chance to try and get to the quarterfinals here for the Masters. Once again, go back to that 50% record in terms of winning 18 out of 36 matches of all the ones that he's played at the Masters. Now, once again, he's got a very important decision to try and make, and he seems to be looking towards that left corner a lot more frequently than to the one to the right, which suggests that either he can't see it or he feels like he's not going to be able to get the cue ball past the main back of reds. Because the longer you take on the long shots like that, the fewer players you actually see make them stick and still get themselves on the collar. Approaching 90-second mark again here for Ding. Because the problem that he's got with this shot is that he's going to be aiming it with the wrong angle, really. The one that you want, especially the cue ball to be sent for the blue. It's very close to being straight. The cue ball is close to the ball cushion as well. And he hasn't managed to make it stick. Now then, where's the cue ball going to be? And probably that's why he didn't want to play it. He had to play for the black. And by playing for it, he was always going to have a risk of leaving some of those reds away to Judd here. But that's the luxury you have when you're 3-0 up there. You're always going to have one of those easy chances. Now, it's certainly going to be one of them. But, of course, the positive thing for Ding has to be the fact of, Chomp had a somewhat easy of a chance in the previous frame. And he still didn't manage to take it beyond the break of 54 points. So Ding will be very aware of that. And looking to try and make sure he's going to be able to get himself back in the rhythm. If another mistake from Judd is going to be here to follow. Now the blue rolls into the left middle. And Trump is going to be 12 points ahead now. So it's a similar position to the one that he had in the second frame. But I'd say the contrasting thing has to be that the Reds are positioned slightly closer to each other. In the second frame they were close, but they were also quite spread out in terms of the way that they were actually taking the lower part of the table. But this time around we've got two main packs. One of them right in the middle, one of them on the left part, and you've got the right side cushion being very much empty of any of one of them, which of course makes the positional play slightly more difficult. But also, another important point is that Trump had pink very much available to him, and that was a massive factor in terms of his ability to score those points without losing on any sort of number of points in that second frame, as I say. But now the black and the pink are all going to be out of the picture for the foreseeable future. Although Trump is able to play the first couple of shots with the blue, trying to get himself 24 points advantage, while still having 123 at the table. As he rolls the blue into the right middle, getting himself to try and get right in the middle of those reds. I think that's what he's trying to do. And the red closest to the pink is going to disappear into the left corner. Has to be very careful though with those shots because they are very important from his point of view in terms of trying to get the pink to be freed up. But that's what you don't want to do, and that's not really what I meant there. I was talking about the positional play, but he clearly was expecting a cannon on the red, and in the end the cue ball just gone straight into the middle pocket. And that's not going to be going according to the plan there. So 20 points advantage, and once again back to Ding Junhui there, having a ball in hand. So one of those shots that you can't really call that a lack of concentration because he clearly didn't play the shot in the way that he wanted. I think Trump would have been aware of that more than anyone in the arena, especially after the shots that he's played in the second and third frames. So it is going to be a massive confidence boost, but don't blow it like that. I mean, I just about said that he's going to be a massive confidence boost for the reason of Ding Junhui's seen opponent make a silly mistake in 2 frames in a row, and then the dragon makes even worse of a mistake. And I hope Ding will return to the table this frame. I think you've been saying that before. Not sure if you have any déjà vu or you said it now. And it has, if you talk about this frame. And he's gone back to his seat straight away because that was a horrible shot that he's played, especially whilst having a ball in hand. You're going to play a shot like that, just put your opponent and ask him to play that shot. In the end, Ding clearly felt like you could have put some pressure on the world number 1. But that wasn't the case. And all the pressure is going to be on him right now because, you know, that 3-0 of a turnaround into 4-2 might not be the worst case scenario there for Chomp, especially if you take into account the way that a couple of those frames have actually finished. So it's about 40 points or so away from doing that as he gets another red into the yellow pocket. And he was playing for the brown. Whatever he did, he doesn't want to be straight on this one. Hasn't got the cover of having the green or yellow available to himself, so has to try and make this green, make the brown in, I should say, into the green pocket, and has to find some sort of angle because pure backspin off the side cushion is not going to do it for him. He needs to have at least some sort of angle, and that's what it, well, I mean, he's tried the backspin, and probably no one has more cue power apart from someone like Stephen Maguire than Chomp, but yeah, as I say, that was never going to do it nicely for him. And so when I say nicely, he's got a very difficult shot along the side cushion that he can try and play. And apart from that, maybe a difficult cut into the left corner. At least that one will give him a chance to try and play for another colour. The shot of the side cushion is just going to be all about taking the red. And Chomp is able to recover. He's actually taken the more difficult red into that left corner with so much distance and such an acute angle on the cue ball. Being so close to the side cushion, pot success is going to be improved there from 92 to 93%. And that shot certainly worth the percent to go on the score sheet. Once again, Chomp has to ensure that was the last time that he run himself out of position. And let's go Ding. Not quite now. 36 points advantage for Chomp, and he's back at the table. Trying to dominate here. 357 points in relation to Chomp scoring those for the entire length of the match. 247 for Ding, so far 110 total points difference. And of course a frame, and well, 37 points now, you have to say. It's not quite a frame and a half, but he's approaching that frameable area thick and fast there for Chomp. Once again, just doing a bit of maintenance on the cloth. And if he's going to be able to get the cue ball with a load of backspin, try and have the shot for the blue to be set up into the right middle. He's going to have a beautiful chance and a great opportunity to try and get him past this zone of having that 50 points advantage. He's going to have the black on his own cushion. He's going to have one of those reds on the side cushion as well. And he might just have enough freedom to be playing for those reds without needing the perfect positional play anymore. Because there's one thing when you're trying to navigate your way through 14 or 15 reds, and there's a very different scenario when you've got around 4 of those to make your way through, with one more being stuck on the side cushion for the time being. Positional success so far in the tournament, 93% for Chomp, 91% for Xiao Mark Selby incredibly, 89%, Mark Allen 88%, and Karen Wilson 88% as well. So 4 out of those 5 players are still going to be in there. Well, for now 3, and Chomp is looking to be the 4th one. That is going to be in the quarterfinal stage as well, joining Allen, Xiao, and Wilson. There's going to be Kyron there because Gary Wilson already been knocked out by Xiao Xington. Another great shot there by Chomp, much to the crowd's acknowledgement, and well, quite happy with the lucky kiss that he got, I would say, because I think he was trying to make the cue ball go the long way around on for the blue. Instead, he got the kiss, which basically put the handbrake on the acceleration of the cue ball. And 55 points right now is going to be the difference. And he's taking that to 61. So I think that's going to be the frame ball there, because there's only going to be 59 points at the table. So Chomp is marching on there towards a 4-2 of a gap. And the break of 41 points. Well, if he keeps this up, he technically can still have a century break, but that technicality is going to disappear with him playing for the pink right now. And just about going to miss out in terms of the points needed there to make a century. But, of course, he's not going to care about that one. He's managed to break a very important sequence of frame-winning breaks there of Ding Junhui. And managed to have one of his own. I have to say, Ding will be disappointed with himself because all of that started after a mistake from Chomp there, which has given a ball in hand to Ding Junhui. He could have put that anywhere in the D. He could have asked to see Judd Chomp to try and play that safety shot. In the end, he was very eager to try and play that himself. And the result was very much negative for him. As he's now got 56 points. So once again, it's the third time that we've seen a break of 50 plus there from Chomp. And the breaks of 61 right now, counting, and 69 and 116 points in frames number 3 and 2. Of course, he's gone on to win every single one of those as he rolls another red in, so it doesn't seem like it's going to be over just yet there in terms of Trump trying to make maximum that he can. I'm going to be a couple of points shy. Well, I say a couple of points. It's going to be 5 points shy. A century break if he is to get anywhere near total clearance. But still 95 points once again in the position that he had, especially when he started that second break. Despite that mistake from Ding, he's going to be another remarkable and very impressive break there made by Judd. As he hammers the green into its own pocket. Clearly just doesn't have the discipline to be playing those shots in a basic fashion. So just playing to a bit of enjoyment of the crowd. Certainly have enjoyed and deserved a bit of entertainment like that. It's not going to be a lot of value in the difference between 95 or sort of 85 points, which Trump could have scored potentially himself. As he gets the brown and the blue combination in quick succession. Getting the blue to be taken into the right corner very, very nicely. And still doesn't look like he's going to be compromised at all on the pink. Trying to get the black in open play. And well, he needed to take that one into the middle. And he's tried to take it into the yellow pocket. Is that going to reach? Does he have the pace? Don't think it does. And he's not going to have the trajectory anyway. So the break of 88 points there. He's going to see Judd Chomp over the line and get his frames of a gap restored back to 2 there. It's not quite that luxury that he had at 3-0. But it's no longer a chance for Ding Junhui to be within touching distance of the world number 1. That is Judd Chomp 4, Ding Junhui 2. And that mistake could prove to be the one that has turned the match once again in favour of the ace in the pack. I think you also have to say that from Ding Junhui's point of view, he had real momentum going into that frame. Winning 2 on the bounce certainly helped, but he was able to keep Trump really quiet throughout those 2 frames. And of course, with that not being the case, well, I think the majority of the table time was spent by Trump on frame number 6. Getting the break of 88 points certainly helped. And apart from those 4 points that Ding managed to receive after Trump dropped the cue ball into the left middle, he didn't score any of those himself. So once again, it is going to be considerable amount of time since the last pot there for Ding Junhui. That's going to be something at the back of his mind as well. Has to try and ensure he's going to be able to get that mistake out of him though. Just try and put that past him and leave that for the future match review or something like that. Right now, it's still very much possible there for us to witness 7 out of 7 matches ending with 6-2, and probably still unlikely at this stage. We're going to need to see another brilliant performance there in frame number 7 for Chum for that to be the likely outcome. Forgot to check the odds before these matches started actually, but I can imagine that this would have been the scoreline to go for in terms of the lowest odds of all of them, because you're never going to have a, well, I say you never, you're very unlikely to have 6-0 or 6-1 in any player's favour, especially in favour of Ding Junhui there. But, you know, if you've got Trump as the favourite, then the most likely score has to be involving Judd Chomp to be winning this match. Therefore, you're going to have to be discussing 6-2, 6-3 or 6-4 there, with this either being such an unlikely outcome. And when you talk about the previous head-to-head, I think you have to give it to 6-3, 6-2 overall. With the way the opening 3 frames have gone, you couldn't write out 6-0 or 6-1 as well. Ding Junhui was able to get himself back in the rhythm after frames number 4 and 5. And now his Chump comes back onto the arena once again, much to the acknowledgement of the crowd. Frame number 7 once again turns into a must-win frame there for the Chinese player. As the old top 16 players class nowadays. Yes, they are. And, you know, the thing about them, you can talk about the quarterfinalists, and let's talk about the top 16 in general. How many of them have actually managed to win the tournament? So then, starting out with Robertson. Well, Kyron Wilson, if you want to talk about non-ranking event titles again. And, well, before we say that, has Ding Junhui managed to play a good break-off shot? Is Judd Trump able to get through to that red? I think it just about was alright. A couple of millimeters more for the red to travel to the top part of the table. And Trump could have had an easy shot to get him an opening point on the board. Instead, he just uses that red to try and bounce it away from the side cushion. And leaves the turn back to Ding there to try and get another safety lined up. So we had, yeah, as I say, Kyron Wilson, Neil Robertson, Xiao Gudon, Mark Allen, Sean Murphy, Mark Williams, Wu Yize, Jack Lisowski, probably the only player that is not going to be on this list. Chris Wakelin as a wild card, but he's still going to be in this one. Who did we have to win the shoot? Alfie Burden. Well, for obvious reasons, that wasn't quite the case. Now then, once again, it's an important shot for Chomp. But he tries to go for a long shot. Maybe. He did try. Now needs the cue ball to come to his rescue. Yeah, he's managed to play the shot really well, to be fair, because he was always going to try and play for the ball colours and ensure that in case he misses the red, which indeed he has, I was going to give him a little bit of breathing space and keep that time for the last pot there for Ding Junhui, just ticking ever closer to 20 minutes, but he's got 30 seconds before that is going to be the case, and he's got one shot to try and change the momentum once again, and he wasn't able to do so. Now then, the red is going to bounce away massively, and is he going to stay on the top, on the lower part of the table, I should say? I think he will, but in such way that there's going to be a couple of options there for Chomp. So once again, I think that is certainly going to be the thing that he's going to take Ding Junhui over the edge. The previous mistake, and the one that cost him that 6th frame, I think it's going to be very difficult to try and get past that. So he was trying to do it in frame number 3, and he was unable to do so on that particular occasion. Clearly just having that one perfect chance in the 4th frame, able to take that momentum into the 5th frame as well. And I would expect Trump to be taking this long red into the right corner, or I did expect him to do so, and he wasn't able to do so still. And now then, the red is going to stay out and go alongside the side cushion. So Chomp clearly just having a very close look to see where the cue ball finished, and managed to cannon that one away off the left side cushion and still be comfortably on the black ball cushion for now. So back to Ding Junhui he goes, looking to try and get the cue ball to the top part of the table here. As long as he does it close to the green pocket, that's going to be a chance for him to make sure that that red is not going to be possible there for Chomp. Congratulations on hitting the 5k subs. Keep up the good work. Yes, so I knew that it was close, and it was close for a while. So thank you very much that everyone has subscribed. Now it's been a hell of a journey for 6 months. And a couple of strategy changes already. Going back to snooker seems to have worked. And we are going to have all the fun starting. We're going to have Australian Open with the tennis coming into play just in a week's time. We're going to have the German Masters for the snooker. We're going to have the ending to the Triple Crown of the Masters. And then on March, we're going to have some brilliant tournaments of the World Open, World Grand Prix. And the new season, the new era of Formula 1 appearing as well. That's going to be something that I'm certainly looking forward to. New teams, new drivers, and new cars for the old generation to drive, featuring the likes of, and the new champions like Lando Norris, like Fernando Alonso, Lewis Hamilton. That's all going to be there to follow in March. For now, though, we still have 7 frame ahead of ourselves. And Chomp just, he was desperate to find a nice little opening to try and go for the red into the left middle, but in the end realised that it's no longer 3 frames clear. And clearly doesn't want to give any sort of initiative away to his opponent. So then, Yeah, he's gonna just try and nudge the cue ball onto the main pack of reds. And leave that option available to Ding Junhui here. He has got the chance of trying to get the cue ball to be sent to the black ball cushion here. Now then, if he just tries to slow the cue ball down with backspin, maybe wasn't actually available because that wasn't really the shot that he went for. Trying to use an extra cushion, slow the cue ball pace even more. Sacrificing himself slightly on the angle for that red, but making sure that he wasn't going to push it too close to the left middle. And that way, it's just going to be the cue ball being sent closer to the main bunch once again there. So let's see how long that is going to take place there in between the two players. Both of them being quite attacking there, so don't expect that to be dragging on for a while. With it being 2.5 hours since the match has started. 6 frames, so I mean, not bad, not perfect in terms of the way that he've had those frames to go on the average frame time. I think it was 16 or 8 minutes after the opening 4. I think that number is going to go up slightly after the frames of 5 and 6. And back to Chomp it goes. Ding Junhui once again there, just playing a good shot to be fair, because he manages to put the cue ball into the position which sort of prevents any sort of any sort of backspin, I should say, from Judd because of how close he was to the black ball cushion on this occasion. And Trump just trying to take that red away there from the left middle and put it onto the side cushion. So the problem still is going to be the fact of the top area is going to be limited for either one of the players, and that way, unless we're going to have a massive shot that either one of the players goes for, and that's exactly what happens. And the cue ball is going to drop into the left middle, and that was always going to be the case if Ding Junhui missed that shot by a significant amount of distance, and he's missed it by half a pocket's length, which was going to be big enough there to drop the cue ball. And in the end, it looks like it is going to be a very costly start there to the frame for Ding Junhui's point of view, because Judd now has got a wide selection of reds for him to try and go for. And I can't really say that it was impatience there from Ding, because he clearly had the opportunity, which at this stage of the match he has to go for. And he was just missing that red by so much of a distance that obviously if you try and pot it, you're going to be thinking that the cue ball was going to be way away from the left middle. In the end, that wasn't the case because he missed it by so much. The adjustment on the cue ball has led it too close to the left middle for it to stay on the table, but Chomp hasn't actually played too good of a shot after the blue, getting himself 10 points advantage. So even though he can still try and go for this red, he's going to have a very difficult shot of getting on the next color, and helped massively by the kiss that he had of one of those reds on the side cushion. And 11 points as the advantage there for Chomp. Now has a look to the lower part of the table. Still has got very limited access in terms of those reds. Now then, I mean, he's tried to go into the main bunch, and I thought he was disappointed there halfway through this shot, but in the end, he got a little bit of a lucky kiss that still keeps him alive there for this chance to try and take the red into the right middle or the right corner. May have a shot into the left middle as well. So it's all about the next color that he's going to be preferring at this stage. And, well, if he was playing for the black, he didn't really do a good job there. He can stay on the pink, and might have the ability to try and send the cue ball for one last red available to him into the right corner. So it's not over for now, though, although it did look like the break wasn't going to last more than sort of 10 points in one stage, and still under on massively there by a red. So Chomp just seems to be struggling there to put his foot on the pedal and try and establish himself in a comfortable position here. Pink has to go in the mix of those reds. So it has to be trying to roll this, and that'll take a bit of time there for us to make our way through. Just the referee doing a very delicate job there, making sure that pink is going to be right in the mix, so that's not going to be played for any more of the time that we need to. And yeah, just trying to get the pink as close to those reds as possible. And there was a slight touch there, so the adjustment will have to be made back on the red, such as taking a bit of time there. And until that point, Trump has to concentrate on trying to send the cue ball back for the blue and get one of those reds to the right corner as he has to tankate. Well, I'm not going to say that's not the target, so it has to be mathematically, and therefore, mathematically, once again, it has to be the target achieved by the end of the season, of the snooker season, I'd say, so pretty much by the end of May. And then we're going to have some new stuff coming in, as I say, with the tennis and Formula One. Once the season really gets underway, with a couple of tournaments in the Auckland and Adelaide as well being underway. Top ref, yes, she definitely is one of the best in the game, especially after we, not going to say have lost, but had one of those referees retired, unfortunately, the legend of the game, back at the Scottish Open. And technically, if you don't take the Championship League into account, which I suppose you should, but for these being a whole new level, we are going to have, well, we didn't really have any of those tough calls there by the referees being made so far, and it's going to be a positive for the game. And that's not going to be a positive for Chom, though. He made a mess of that, and he's landed very straight on the blue. He could have played the previous shot better in terms of he was way too straight on that red. And right now he's going to put him under pressure here once again. Got the blue to take. And just try and stun the cue ball for one of those reds to be taken. I'm not sure if he can get through to the red onto the left corner, because if he can, that's going to let me off the hook slightly. But it's still not going to make this shot too easy in the game at all. Play the shot with topspin onto this red to be taken, and try and stick the cue ball for the black. Doesn't want it anywhere near the side cushion, and that's about as close as you can get to this side cushion. So once again, the break has been far from ideal there from Chom, and he has been visibly struggling to try and keep hold of the cue ball on consecutive occasions here. So just trying to make his way through. One more shot at a time. Catches one red though. And, well, manages to take the pace enough of the cue ball there for it to stop before going over the point off, not having one red available. So he's still in the hunt there for this break of 60 points or something. Like for Judd, professional snooker, thank you. I don't know if you mean for the video or for in general, but it certainly has been a like for him. His performance has been nothing short of, well, not going to say brilliant, but really solid and really good there. Especially if he's going to be able to take it into a 5-2 advantage. Keeping that 6-2 score very much alive there. And I have to say, if it's going to be 7 out of 7, I mean, what are the odds going to be on Neil Robertson to be beating Chris Wakelin by 6 frames to 2? I mean, I know that he's supposed to be neutral to both of them, but I can't see Wakelin for all the time. I mean, that's going to be another Xiao Gurun against Mark Selby win if Wakelin is to destroy Robertson like that, despite being the wild card and being the B choice and replacing Ronnie O'Sullivan, pulling out for the medical reasons. Last pot time for Ding Junhui. Well, we were talking about it being 20 minutes before he was going for that shot along the side cushion. And because of this break taking so long there for Judd, it is going to be more than 30 minutes right now. Once again, similar to what we've seen Gyron Wilson against Si Xiaowei yesterday, C was able to get within 1 frame away there of Gyron, 3-2 of the scoreline, and then, you know, all of a sudden you see Gyron just step up his game massively, go through the gears and switch from the second to something like 4th or 5th. And, well, there's something very similar that we've seen there from Judd Chom, because remember, apart from the 4 points given away to him, didn't score any points on frame number 6, and history seems to be repeating itself once again on frame number 7 as well. Chom just 3 shots away there of having Ding Junhui to need 2 snookers for him to be back in the equation for this match. For this frame, I should say, but for the match in general as well. Because if he is to be losing this frame, he's going to have to, well, try and find a Mark Cullen in himself, because winning 4 frames on the bounce is something that I think only Mark Cullen has managed to do so far in the Masters campaign. We've had 3 on the bounce for the likes of Wu Yize and Gyron Wilson, as I mentioned. Jump himself at the start of this matchup. And now it is down to this black for him to be taking. He's already 65 points up. So it should just be a formality thing. And now 72 points up. It is going to be another win of the frame there for Chump. And well, what did I say about that mistake in frame number 6? It could well have been the story of the comeback for Ding Junhui. And when it's 3 frames each, you never quite know. Maybe it was the time for Ding to try and run away. In the end, he never had the chance to do so. And Chump certainly has done that on 2 of those occasions. And certainly has been an upgrade when you go from being 3-0 up to being 5-2 up. Because you're just 1 frame away there of reaching another quarterfinal at the Masters. And maybe this is going to be the 3rd crown there. It's called the Triple Crown for a reason. Now, he had 2 of the UK Championship wins before he managed to reach the final and be the runner-up to Mark Selby. Well, he's got 2 Masters crowns as well. Can he try and make it 3 for himself? Well, if he's playing like that, he certainly is going to be able to do so. Gets a lovely point here. Whilst taking the red into the middle. Rolls another green straight away into its own pocket. So has got 1 more challenge ahead of the century. Trying to get this red along the side cushion and with backspin on the cue ball. Should be able to hold it, no problem for the ball colours. Now 87 points on the break. And amazing looking like 6-2. Well, it does look like 6-2. And once again, there's been nothing that Ding Junhui could have done about it. You know, maybe you could argue that, you know, slightly 2 more errors than we could have seen from him. But it has been a brilliant response there from Chump. And remember that he's had all of those breaks for him to be taking on. And yet he's still only just about trying to find his way through those points here. As he takes this brown into the yellow pocket. So then a break of 99 points. So once again, like it was in the 2nd frame, he needs the blue for the century. And he's probably about to make a 1 point improvement there on the highest break. As once again, you can barely keep up with him, whether you're the cameraman or the scoreboard man. And it is a perfect break there for Jump. Once again, 117 points there for him. And it is going to be a 5-2 lead for Jump to be taking ahead of the frame number 8, which at this stage, you have to say, very likely looks to be the one which will finish the deal there for Trump. And we'll see us with the 7 out of 7 there in terms of all the matches of the 1st round so far. Barring Chris Wakelin and Neil Robertson yet to be played, are going to finish with the score being 6 frames to 2. Billy says it's 6-2 again. It is. It is now. And let's see if it is going to be the case. If Chump is going to be victorious there at frame number 8, he still has got around 70 points or so for him to try and score before we can officially say that this has been the 1st round of just 8 frames being played. And, well, I mean, disappointing from Ding's point of view because it looked like we are going to see a comeback of some sort, and in the end it was that. Such a similar story though to the one that we've seen in the UK Championship. Ding has managed to win 2 frames on the bounce, but apart from that he's lost all the other frames. And of course the funny thing was he managed to win the opening 2 frames against Jump, and then his form absolutely disappeared. He had a couple of misses in the 3rd and 4th frames, but you know, ever since I think it was the 4th frame, and Chump was just able to run away with him completely. And Ding really didn't help himself, having a bit of a meltdown in the form. And in the end wasn't able to win any more frames than the opening 2. And he had a stint of 3 winning frames there at the start of the match for Jump. Then Ding was able to take 2 away from him. And it does look like we are approaching another stint of 3 frames on the bounce there. About 70 points in between Jump. And the 6-2 result, once again, the 3rd break that has the cue ball very close to the yellow, but this time around slightly further away there. So let's see if can Ding win? Well, I mean, not yet. He's only had the break off, but he has got the chance to try and take this plant into the left corner. That's certainly going to be very interesting indeed, because of him having the ability to try and hold the cue ball for the black. And try and get himself, well, I mean, I don't know what he's done there, but he certainly didn't do himself any justice He was clearly trying to dismantle that plant and just make sure that Chomp wasn't going to be able to get to it. And in the end, he missed the contact on all of those reds. So, I mean, he didn't go back to his seat there. So he clearly feels like Chomp is not going to try and get this plant into the corner. But you know what I say? He may as well try and do so. He's in the form of his life. He's played some great snooker over the last couple of frames. And is now Ding Junhui taking the seat there. So attempts conceded from the break. 1 from 4 breaks. And 1 from 4 breaks for Ding Junhui and Judd there. But you have to say, with the stats being so similar, you wonder how the scoreboard is going to look so different when Judd is going to get another chance there for him to surely try and take it away there from Ding. And, well, clearly it felt like Ding refused that plan for a reason. Trying to get one of those reds into the plant and aim them into the right corner pocket. In the end, missed out on catching too much of the front jaw. And it is going to be another safety battle for us to witness. We have seen, well, those, I think, pretty much in every single one of those frames. I think the third frame didn't really start with a safety battle, but it finished with a safety battle because of Ding being so desperate to try and get himself back in the picture. And so desperate not to be 3-0 down. Probably not at this point. No, I think he means the frame. Because he was actually the one calling the scoreline 6-2. And yeah, you can't win 4 frames of the bounce against Judd. I think the only player that actually comes to mind that has done that was Wu Yize, who was able to win 6 frames on the bounce on his way to be the International Championship winner in China. And turn a 4-0 deficit into a 6-4 win. But I think that probably was... I can't explain that one because you can't be in the form of your life if you lose 4 frames on the bounce. But also, it has to be so many of those factors to dip in form from Chomp. And also, you just feel like it's not going to happen here at the opening round of the Masters. Very hard. It is going to be very hard, to be fair, because, you know, Ding is going to be getting impatient with every shot that he takes on. That one was probably quite nice, to be fair. Manages to cover up the left-hand side of the table completely. And has got the right-hand side to try and work with there with Judd. And the referee just having a look to see. Of course, it is going to matter as well if Chomp is going to be warned there on the 3rd attempt. So, I'm not sure if he's able... Well, I mean, he's looking to see if he's able to get through the green and blue combination. Get himself back into the rhythm. But I don't think that's going to be the case there for him. And so he has to try and make it the long way around. So, yeah, he's realising that. So we are going to see a shot from the cushion being made. So it's just about trying to make it from the first time here. And, I mean, he can try and use the left side cushion, to be fair to him. Just has to be very careful in terms of not catching the red too thick on the edge. And in the end, canning the cue ball into the blue as well. So I think it's the second time only in this match that we've seen Chomp taking more than 70 seconds on the shot. And in the end decided just to try and roll the cue ball to the lower part of the table. Seems to have misjudged the pace though. And the same red is going to be possible there to Ding Junhui into the yellow pocket. It is a long shot, but the way that the cue ball is going to be positioned perfectly behind this red, we feel like it is going to be a good opportunity, too good of an opportunity to turn down there from Ding. But he clearly doesn't feel that, and you can see why. Because the red that I thought was going into the yellow pocket is going to be compromised by another one. So technically that's not going to be possible on this occasion there. So back to Chomp it goes. And he has to try and make his way out of this snooker for the second time of asking. I think that's probably one of the first foul points that he's given away there to Ding. And just having a look once again to the side cushion to see if he's going to be able to get anywhere closer to, well, at least one of those reds being on the black ball cushion. For now we need to get the cue ball into the perfect position as he was previously. So attempt number 2 coming up now, as both Chomp and Junhui are happy with this one. Now then, this is going to be close in terms of the power for the cue ball, and I think it's just about calculated this one to perfection. This has been a much better attempt there from Chomp, and he's going to give the turn back to Ding here. Only 4 points given away there by each of the players, so still technically 15 reds. All of them being at the table right now. The black's not really compromised into either of the pockets, but getting the positional play on it is going to be impossible for the right corner. So it's all going to be about trying to do so for the right part of the table for now. So having a look to see if he's going to be able to get the cue ball somewhat close to the green pocket at this stage. Not sure if that's going to be the case for him though. So has a look to see. And clearly just trying to make the cue ball touch that red and put it to the side cushion. Well, probably by far the slowest starts to the frame that we've had so far in the matchup. You can understand why it's going to be justified from Ding's point of view, but you would also expect Chom to try and go for maybe slightly more attacking shots in the start of the frame. For now it is just trying to guide the cue ball and checking all the options that he had to try and land it onto the green pocket. And in the end, just trying to get it close to the green spot in the end. So he'll have the cue ball to bounce away from the ball cushion. Just about enough there for him to leave the long shot, which probably is never going to be taken on there by Chomp. But apart from that, he's got very limited options in terms of the safety shot that he can try and play. And he can try and use the same red that I said is going to be possible for him to take as a long shot. In the end, he takes it as a safety shot there. And as long as the cue ball doesn't drop into the yellow pocket, which it won't, gets very close to it though. So it's going to compromise Junhui there, having the pocket to try and place his hand onto. And having the cue ball so close to the ball cushion as well. 81% of a safety success. 76% there. In relation to Trump having the edge once more. 5% there in terms of the safety battle. And there has been a massive improvement there for Ding, because I think at the early part of the match, it was something like 56% that we were starting with. And well, got a massive bounce there on the cue ball. So I think that's going to go beyond the bulk line. And therefore leave a chance away to Chomp if he manages to see enough of the red. Try and take it into the right corner, which I think it just about will. Chomp certainly will have a close look at that. Because that previous shot compromising the black even more. I think just about making it not possible into either one of the corner pockets. And well, it's part of the plan there. And does seem to be one of those unmissable plans that you can try and take with all the power in the world. That's what he's done, as he got the cue ball onto the collars. And, well, he got too much of the cue action on this one. So I'm very much looking forward to the next shot that he's going to play. Is he going to try and go for a safety shot because of one of those reds being so close to the right corner? I think that was the same red that he's used for a plant there. So he nearly got two of the reds on the same plants into the same pocket there. Would have been an extraordinary shot. And in the end, he's still going to put Ding Junhui into the world of trouble because, yeah, you try and find a place where you can get the cue ball into whilst having 14 reds on the table, one of them being so close to the corner pocket as well. And this is going to be certainly the shot that you would expect to resolve the play of the frame very quickly, because either Ding Junhui miraculously is going to find a place to try and get the cue ball onto, or he's going to give the shot away to Chomp straight away. And, well, yeah, that's not going to reach there. I think he wasn't planning to hit the cue ball with the solely power. And it's going to be down to Chomp to make a decision here if he wants to get the cue ball to be responded behind the yellow, and he does. So straight away there, decision easy made there by Chomp's point of view. So I think it can go wrong there for Ding if he manages to get too little of the contact on the red from the right hand side and pushes the cue ball closer to the right cushion there. So just perfect placement of the cue ball required right now. And Ding seems to be happy with this one. So attempt number 2 coming up. Once again, he's fine in terms of points. And it doesn't matter at this stage if he gives too many of those away. It's all about not giving the play chance to Judd Trump. And, well, clearly committed to trying to put a bit of distance there in between the cue ball and the red. And I'm not sure that was the right shot for him to go for, because in any case, it leaves a chance out for Chomp to try and maybe make his way through into the left corner. In the end, he's having a look to see once again there if he's going to find a perfect plan for himself to try and cause chaos close to the right corner pocket, and he does seem to go for that. So let's see if he's going to try and go for chaos or control. And wow, I mean, he's gone for control, and that surely has to be the shot of the match. There hasn't been a shot like that before because, I mean, look at where the position of the black is before he takes that shot on, and look how perfectly he landed on the black. Could not have placed the cue ball any better if he's played that shot 100 times and got the red even without needing a little bit of a help from the red being so close to the corner pocket. And surely that has to be the chance of a breaking point with tournament pot success. Trump being the runner-up to John Higgins so far in his match against Barry Hawkins. Right now it is Trump having that perfect opportunity to try and close off the match in style and make it 7 out of 7 indeed for the score to be 6-2 in his advantage. And once again, just doing that in 2 phases of the game there. Having 3 frames won on the bounce on 2 of those occasions. But a winner, well, I mean, he's not there yet and never celebrate before the checkered flag. But you still have got that feeling that Trump is going to be a real threat for the Masters. Should he be able to find 45 or so points on the board here. Probably slightly more than that because a couple of those points are going to be from foul shots. And you need to eliminate enough of those reds to ensure that it's going to be around 60 or 50 points at the table for your opponent not to have the ability to come back at the table competitively. And Trump losing the touch there slightly because of where the cue ball has landed. So has to try and eliminate one of the reds closer to the right corner pocket. And I think he was playing for the blue on the previous shot, overrun slightly and decided not to take a risk. So just play for the green and stick the cue ball with an awful lot of backspin on it. Trying to get himself lined up for that red to be taken. And another difficult shot though, because it's very easy to roll the red in, but has to play it perfectly in terms of the positional play on the black. And he's managed to do so brilliantly once again there. And it's only going to get better for him because of, the more reds that you get rid of, the easier it is for you to try and make the way past the ones that are actually left out on the table. That's exactly the mission that Trump seems to be on right now. So the break of 28 points doesn't seem like a lot, but 33-point advantage with 107 already seems like a significant gap there. And ultimately will leave Ding Junhui with requiring that red being on the black bill cushion. And Trump has probably got his chances to be higher after the previous cannon onto the red, getting himself positioned perfectly on the pink. And as I say, the way the reds are located on the table right now, I think working his way through the pink spot is going to be slightly easier than having the necessity to play those perfect positional shots on the black, still being slightly compromised by one of those reds. Or you can try and do the mix of both there, just like Trump clearly deciding for himself. And all of a sudden he can really pick up the pace now, eliminating that red so close to the black previously. And despite him overrunning slightly for that red, he's going to have opportunity to try and play the cue ball for the pink. Having 48 points advantage now to his name, 43 on the break. And barring something of an extraordinary mistake, which we have seen already to be fair, in frame number 5, it is going to be a perfect win there for Trump. And once again, just like it was for the UK Championship, it is going to be 6-2 there that Trump is taking on there. So it does seem to be the magic number so far for both Judd Trump and the Masters in general to start off the 2026. So 55 points advantage, so not quite yet. 83 still available in play, but he's not going to have any issues really, apart from making the mess of the position that he's got ahead of himself. So 55 points. As I say right now, 56 with this red. And plays the shot slightly with too much power. Should be able to recover though, and actually turn it into a bit of a change of pace really, because you can just try and play the shot with backspin, sending it onto the side cushion, have the cue ball to cannon away far enough from the red that he can try and take it into the same pocket. or I think he's got just about enough force in the cue to try and maybe keep the cue ball onto the black ball cushion. That's going to be more of a difficult shot for him to take on, and in the end, once again, judged the cannon perfectly onto the cue ball, and the touch that he's given to the black has ended up with a perfect outcome, and well, just this red and the black combination needed there for him. This is 64 points clear, 67 at the table. He's about to make that 71 as the difference. And it has been the perfect performance there from Chomp, and you'll certainly mean a lot to him, because Ding Junhui is probably going to be one of the more difficult players for you to be up against, especially as the world number one. Probably had one of the more difficult draws coming for him at the UK Championship, because being done right before the final, which has seen Judd Chomp very much participate in, but it has been a perfect performance out of him. He had a bit of a, bad spell in the 4th and 5th frames, one of the last frames of the first mini session, and one of the first one of the second one. But apart from that, he had a perfect break in between, and he has managed to produce a break of 74 points and counting now, because he manages to get another beautiful red into the left middle, gets the pink in as well. So we have seen 2 century breaks already. We have seen the break of 69 points to add to that count as well. So can we see 3 out of 3 there for Judd Chomp whenever he had the chance? And Ding Junhui was super close to it on the frame number 4, but in the end wasn't quite meant to be there for him. As now another black disappears. Well done, Chomp. Happy. So he should be. I mean, really impressed with the performance and the way that he's rolled onto the scene, especially with the way that we've seen top seeds struggle. Zhao Xington probably is the only player that comes into mind that has managed to beat the lower ranking seed, and John Higgins another one. And Neil Robertson will be looking to make it 4 out of 8 with the likes of Sean Murphy, Mark Selby, and a couple of others all being knocked out by the lower rated seed. And that certainly wasn't the case there for Ding Junhui, because it is going to be the black for the century break. And it's a perfect black there, because it is a break of 104 points there from Judd Chomp, and he's absolutely on a roll, and a century to finish the match off in style, to say the least. See if we're going to witness a total clearance as well. And well, it's 2 points there scored by Chomp as he rolls the yellow into his own pocket. So he's going to have the ability to try and play for the green, and well, unfortunately going to have himself snookered for the brown. And well, right now it's probably not going to matter as he tries to get the brown into the green pocket. Wasn't quite successful on this one, but it is 3 centuries there for Judd Chomp, and he's able to dominate Ding Junhui. And certainly, words of congratulations there from the player from China. And it is going to be the world number 1 progressing to the quarterfinal, where he's going to be faced off against Mark Allen. Certainly a very interesting battle, and we'll have to wait and see who one of these champions will be able to maybe take another step towards having maybe another crown of the Masters in their title. As, congratulations to Chomp and commiserations to Ding Junhui. Have to come back stronger, and it is once again for the second time in 2 Triple Crown events. It is Judd Chomp that knocks out Ding Junhui away from the Triple Crown glory. The last time it happened was at the quarterfinal of the UK Championship, and this time around it is going to be at the Masters of the last 16. Judd Chomp is through and Ding Junhui is out. Once again, thank you very much for everyone tuning in, and great milestone achieved. Off to a few more. And we'll be back on Friday for the action of the quarterfinals. Thank you very much once again for tuning in, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care.
Empty hearts and neon lights, they're playing with my mind. Gotta get out of here tonight.